wish it was that way.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the Town Council meeting.
It's not working.
Could you fix the mic, please?
I'd like to call the meeting to order, June 9th, 7 p.m. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councillor Carrasco?
Present.
Councillor Clements?
Excused?
Councillor Langevin?
Excused?
Councillor Manna?
Present.
Councillor Marcucci?
Present?
Councillor Moriarty?
Present.
Councillor Nicola?
Present.
Councillor Peliquin?
Present.
Councillor Vandal?
Thank you. Consider and accept Town Council meeting minutes of Monday, May 19th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Any corrections?
I'd like to abstain from this one.
Thank you. All those in favor? One abstention, Councilor Peliquin. Thank you. Subcommittee reports. A, General Government.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. A meeting of the General Government Subcommittee was held on Tuesday, June 3rd in the George Parent Conference Room. In attendance were myself, committee members, Councilors Vandal, Moriarty, and Citizen Member Holly Christo. Also in attendance, Karen Harnoy, Ray Gauthier, and John Pulowski. Michael James was absent. I called the meeting to order at 6:30. Agenda item number 1, vote to renew the contract with Group Benefit Strategies for Healthcare Consultant Services. Karen Harnoy said Mindy Ernst-Funyer could not attend the meeting and had sent a memo. The town has used the services of GBS for the past 3 years and have been happy with their services. A motion was made by Councilor Moriarty, seconded by Holly Christo, with a favorable recommendation to council to renew the contract. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Agenda item number 2, vote to renew the contract with Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Agency for police and fire injured on duty, which is known as IOD insurance. Karen Harnoy said the increase is $52 this year. This is a very small increase. It covers uniformed police and fire officials. Motion was made by Councilor Moriarty, seconded by Holly Christo, with a favorable recommendation to council to renew the contract. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Agenda item number 3, vote to renew the contract with Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Agency for property, liability, and workers' compensation insurance. Karen Harnoy said the increase is 10.6% or $46,000 this year. The increase will be reduced as buildings are sold off and removed from the policy. A motion was made by Councilor Moriarty, seconded by Holly Christo, with a favorable recommendation to council to renew the contract. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Agenda item number 4, approve the contract with Sargent, Tyler, and West for airport hangar keepers liability insurance. Karen Harnoy said that by transferring this insurance from Jim's Flying Service to the town, there is a savings of $702 a year. A motion was made by Councilor Moriarty, seconded by Holly Christo, with a favorable recommendation to council to approve the contract with Star Aviation through Sargent, Tyler, and West for the airport hangar keepers liability insurance. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Agenda item number 5, vote to approve the contract with KMS Actuaries for GASB 45 actuarial valuations. Karen Harnoy said this study has to be done every 2 years. She has negotiated for the pricing of $7,000 for July 1st, 2013, and $72,000 for July 1st, 2015. A motion was made by Councilor Moriarty and seconded by Holly Christo to approve the contract with KMS Actuaries for GASB 45 actuarial valuations. No vote was taken. A motion was made by Councilor Moriarty and seconded by Holly Christo to amend the motion to read, quote, approve the contract with KMS Actuaries for GASB 45 actuarial valuations for July 13th at $7,000 and for July 1st, 2013 at $7,000 and for July 1st, 2015 at $72,000. Vote by a show. Pardon me? $7,272. I'm sorry, $7,200. Vote by a show of hands. Thank you. All in favor, 4-0. A motion was made by Councilor Moriarty and seconded by Holly Christo with a favorable recommendation to council to approve this contract. Vote by a show of hands. All in favor, 4-0. Motion to adjourn was made by Councilor Moriarty and seconded by Holly Christo. Meeting adjourned at 6:41 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Evelyn Rivera, recording clerk. I do have another meeting scheduled for June 10th in the George Parent Room. There's one item on that agenda, and it's to discuss the bid, excuse me, the bid that we have on the restaurant up at the airport. And that's all I have on this, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilor Nicola. 4B, DPW, Councilor Vandal.
Thank you. The meeting of the DPW Subcommittee was held on Tuesday, June 3rd, 2014, in the Rice Conference Room. In attendance were myself, Councilor Carrasco, Councilor Peliquin, arrived at 7:50 p.m., and Subcommittee Member Mark Moran arrived at 7:30 p.m. Also in attendance were Councilor Langevin, Councilor Nicola, Councilor Moriarty, Karen Hanois, Heather Blakely, Ron Chudo, Ray Gauthier, John Pulowski, John Trahan, Michael James, Roger and Estelle Cowett. Steve Lazo was absent. I call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Agenda item number 1. Discuss rear road crossing removal on Central Street and Hook Street. Ms. Blakely said that the first thing that needs to be done is to get DOD approval. Right now, we would not be able to do this project until July, as there is not enough manpower, and 2 of our heavy machines are down. Street sweeping is a month behind, and they are about halfway done. Discussion was held on how the Sheriff's Department prisoner program might be able to help. Agenda item number 2, discuss and review snow removal policy. Ms. Blakely said she had been asked to put together a policy. She has done so, and it is attached to these minutes. Ms. Blakely discussed the major points in the policy. Lengthy discussion was held on how many can be saved during the winter daytime, how much can be saved during the winter daytime in snow removal. Agenda item number 3, discuss and review proposed revision to cemetery policy. Ms. Blakely said she has prepared a draft letter she would like to send to funeral service providers attaching a policy setting procedures for burial arrangements. Agenda item number 4, discuss upcoming schedule for the painting and road repairs. Mr. Chudo said the paint has been bought and the machines are being tuned up to begin line painting next week, weather permitting. Agenda item number 5, vote to approve the attached scope of work from Weston and Sampson to write a standard operating procedure for performing a free chlorine burn on a water system in the event one is needed, and submit to council for ratification. Ms. Blakely discussed the scope of work from Weston and Sampson. She said they want to have the procedure in place in case a free chlorine burn has to be done. A motion was made by Mark Moran and seconded by Councilor Peliquin to approve the attached scope of work from Weston and Sampson. No vote was taken. A motion was made by Councilor Moriarty and seconded by Councilor Peliquin to amend the motion to read, approve the attached scope of work from Weston and Sampson to write a standard operating procedure for performing a free chlorine burn on the water system to be paid from the water system capital account, number 14580, in the amount of $5,600. Vote by show of hands, all in favor, 3-0. Councilor Carrasco was absent for this vote. A motion was made by Mark Moran and seconded by Councilor Peliquin with a favorable recommendation to council to approve the attached scope of work from Weston and... Hold on. Weston and Sampson to write the standard operating procedure for performing a free chlorine burn on the water system to be paid from the water system capital account number 14580 in the amount of $5,600. Vote by show of hands, all in favor, 3-0. Ms. Blakely said we applied and have received a grant from the Department of Energy Resources, Green Communities Division, in the amount of $64,402 for the following project: wastewater treatment plan retrofit for effluent pumps, wastewater treatment plant, and motor retrofit for 2 heating hot water pumps. DW treatment plant, raw water pumps, VFD retrofit for 3 60 horsepower pumps. The town would be responsible for 10% cost share. The total project cost is $137,763, of which $66,205 will come from National Grid funds as utility incentive, $64,402 from the DOER grant, and $7,156, 10% from the sewer fund. A motion to adjourn was made by Mark Moran and seconded by Councilor Peliquin. Vote by show of hands, all in favor, 3-0. I adjourn the meeting at 8:25 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Evelyn Rivera, recording clerk. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Councilor Manna?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. On agenda item number 2, I have highlighted, there's minutes attached to, the policy is attached to these minutes, but I couldn't find the policy for the discussion for the snow removal. So if that's something that I can get through email, because it says she has done so and it is attached to these minutes in regards to putting together a policy. Okay, thank you. And also, in regards to agenda item number 5, not the first paragraph, but the second paragraph, it says a motion was made by Councilor Moriarty and seconded by Councilor Peliquin. It's to my understanding that Councilor Moriarty is not on that subcommittee, so how would he be able to make a motion?
I didn't make any motions. I believe that it's probably just a typo, that it was Mark Moran that must have made that motion. I didn't make any motion at that meeting.
My minutes reflect Mark Moran. You're talking about agenda item number 5?
Number 5.
Agenda item number 5, and you go
this
down
one,
to the
yes.
second paragraph.
Yes, I do see that. Can we just make that correction?
And that's it.
Thank you. Councilor Vandal, do you have any meetings scheduled?
No meeting scheduled.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Education and Human Services, no report, but I do have a meeting scheduled for Wednesday, June 11th, 7 p.m. There's 6 agenda items. They should be, looks like mostly transfers, so shouldn't be too bad of a meeting. D, Planning and Development, Councilor Nicola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A meeting of the Planning and Development Subcommittee was held on Tuesday, May 20th in the Rice Conference Room. In attendance were Chairwoman Clements, Subcommittee Member Councilor Manna, and citizen members Evelyn Petrelli and Roger Cowett. Also in attendance were Town Manager Reed, Cassandra Ackley, Ted Carmen, Estelle Cowett, Gus Steves, Maureen Doyle, David Payer, John and Wendy Normandin, and Sean and Sherry Moriarty. Councilor Peliquin was absent. Chairwoman Clements called the meeting to order at 6:37 p.m. Agenda item number 1, review the Planning Board's recommendation for keeping of livestock on less than 5 acres and vote to send to Council for ratification. Councilor Clements explained the previously discussed fee structure. Questions were raised on the time process for citizens to comply with the new bylaw. It was asked that a process from complaint to permit issuance be added to the letter of recommendation from the ZBA, Zoning Board. Questions were raised on how a noise plan was to be given. A landlord raised concerns they had on chickens and roosters living in a multi-unit building. A motion was made by Councilor Manna and seconded by Roger Cowett with a favorable recommendation to Council to accept the recommendation from the Planning Board for keeping of livestock on less than 5 acres. Vote by show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Agenda item number 2, review the Planning Board's non-binding vote to recommend acceptance of Maggie Lane and vote to send to Council for ratification. Mr. Payer said everything is done and has passed all compliance issues. A motion was made by Councilor Manna, seconded by Roger Cowett, with a favorable recommendation to Council to accept the Planning Board's non-binding vote on the acceptance of Maggie Lane. Vote by show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Agenda item number 3, review the Planning Board's non-binding vote to recommend acceptance of Servant Way and to submit to Council for ratification. Mr. Payer said everything is done and has passed all compliance issues. Motion was made by Councilor Manna, seconded by Evelyn Petrelli, with a favorable recommendation to council to accept this non-binding vote. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Agenda item number 4, discuss the invitation from the Department of Housing and Community Development to submit an application to develop 7 units of quality housing at 1 to 11 Central Street and vote to send to council for ratification. Mrs. Ackley introduced Ted Carmen of Concord Development. Mr. Carmen explained the EDF grant process and how it works. This would be the first project to be done to help with the downtown revitalization plan. This project would build 7 units, 3 efficiency, and 4 one-bedroom apartments. The Department of Housing and Community Development grants call for the owner to contribute 25% of the funds to rehabilitate the building. They provide 75% of the funds in the form of a loan that would be forgiven as long as the property meets the criteria set by the DHCD. A motion was made by Councilor Manna and seconded by Roger Cowett with a favorable recommendation to council to accept the invitation from the Department of Housing and Community Development to submit an application to develop 7 units of quality housing at 1 to 11 Central Street. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Motion was made to adjourn by Councilor Manna, seconded by Evelyn Petrelli. Chairwoman Clements adjourned the meeting at 7:40 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Evelyn Rivera, recording clerk. And I don't think there's another meeting scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Nicola. There's another set of minutes to be read, and Councilor Manna, I'd ask you to read those, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A meeting of the Planning and Development Subcommittee was held on Thursday, May 29th, 2014, in the Rice Conference Room. In attendance were Chairwoman Clements, Subcommittee Member Councilor Manna, and citizen members Evelyn Petrelli and Roger Cowett. Also in attendance were Cassandra Ackley, Rose Canoyer, and Dave Payer. Councilor Peliquin was absent. Chairwoman Clements called the meeting to order at 6:33 p.m. Agenda item number 1, review the recommendation from the Planning Board for a zoning map change on Worcester Street and to send it to Town Council. Councilor Clements said this has been reviewed before. The Planning Board had a public hearing with the majority of the members voted for the change. A motion was made by Councilor Manna and seconded by Roger Cowett with a favorable recommendation to Council to accept the recommendation from the Planning Board for a zoning map change on Worcester Street. Vote by show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Agenda item number 2, review a proposed CDBG consultant with Fuss & O'Neill Incorporated in the amount of $4,200 for preparation of bidding and construction documents for reconstruction of the Chestnut Street terminus, responding to questions from potential bidders and reviewing bids for accuracy and responsibility, and vote to send to council with a positive recommendation. Mrs. Ackley said they had gotten a schematic on the reconstruction. Because this is under $5,000, it does not have to go on an RFP. The Planning Board suggested Fuss & O'Neill Incorporated do the work as they created the design and know all about the project. Questions were raised about the location. Councilor Clements said she thought the project was to be at the end of Chestnut Street, not on the side in front of the community center. A motion was made by Councilor Manna and seconded by Roger Cowett with a favorable recommendation to Council to accept the Planning Board's recommendation to contract with Fuss & O'Neill Incorporated in the amount of $4,200 for preparation of bidding and construction documents for reconstruction of the Chestnut Street terminus, responding to questions from potential bidders, and reviewing bids for accuracy and responsibility. Vote by show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Agenda item number 3, vote to recommend that the town adopt Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 23D, regarding excused attendance of board members and qualified voting privileges under certain circumstances. Councilor Clements said this came up at a planning board meeting where they had enough members but not enough for a voting majority. The majority of other towns in the Commonwealth have adopted this format. This rule is for public hearings and proposes that in order to vote, you would have to sign the form and be informed in order to make an informed decision. This helps so that people waiting for a vote at a public hearing can get a decision even if all members are not present at the public hearing. A motion was made by Councilor Manna and seconded by Roger Cowett with a favorable recommendation to council to adopt Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 23D, regarding excused attendance of board members and qualified voting privileges under certain circumstances. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Agenda item number 4, vote to recommend that the town council send a zoning map request for Gulfwood Road to the planning board to receive public comment. Councilor Clemens said this is a request received from an owner who has a lot located in both light industrial and two-family zoning. He is asking that it all be made light industry zoning. A motion was made by Councilor Manna and seconded by Evelyn Petrelli with a favorable recommendation to council to send a zoning map request for Gulfwood Road to the planning board to receive public comment. Vote by show of hands, all in favor, 4-0. Agenda item number 5, discuss an opportunity to install a splash pad at the Morris Street Playground under the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, Our Common Backyards program. Mrs. Ackley said that after looking at various locations, the Morris Street location was chosen as the possible site for the splash pad. Water usage and future funding was a concern. More information will be brought to the next subcommittee meeting on June 3rd. Agenda item number 6, review downtown sidewalk designs and plans for the south side of Main Street from the post office driveway to Goddard Street. Mrs. Ackley said that because this is such a large project, she has asked for an RFQ and is getting bids. The timeframe for completion of this project would be by the end of 2014. A motion to adjourn was made by Councilor Manna and seconded by Evelyn Petrelli. Vote by show of hands, all in favor, 3-0. Mr. Cowett was excused from the meeting early. Chairwoman Clemens adjourned the meeting at 7:30 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Evelyn Rivera, recording clerk.
Thank you, Councilor Manna. Councilor Moriarty, could you read the next set of minutes? Thank
Meeting
you.
of the Planning and Development Subcommittee was held on Tuesday, June 3rd at 6:30 p.m. in the Rice Conference Room. In attendance were Chairwoman Clemens, Councilors Peliquin and Moriarty, citizen members Evelyn Petrelli and Roger Cowett, EDC Director Sandy Ackley, EDC members Mark Moran, Pete Canoyer, James Dwyer, and Jose Rentis, Acting Town Manager Bob Reed, Evening News reporter Chelsea Davis, and resident Estelle Cowett. Councilor Manna was excused. Chairwoman Clements called the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. The first agenda item was to meet with the Economic Development Commission to discuss ways of being a more business-friendly town. Mr. Moran started the discussion saying that for the most part, Southbridge is business-friendly, but there are times when departments are not getting together on different things. He said that a while back, the EDC put together a permitting guide that is not being used the way that they would like it to be. He would like to see it split into 2 parts, one for residential use and one for commercial. Mr. Moran said that one of the issues are the fees, such as water and sewer. Some of the fees are quite extravagant, and it makes it hard for a new business to get started. They would like to come up with a new way of doing this that won't hinder new businesses. Chairwoman Clements asked if there had been any historical research done for comparison purposes with various other communities. Mr. Moran noted that every town is different, but that he could look for numbers. Mr. Canoyer said the original purpose of the permitting guide was so that when someone came into the town hall for purpose of doing a business, there would be a map they could follow and manage their way through. If all departments don't use it, however, it has no value. Mrs. Ackley feels that they haven't been as successful with the permitting guide as they would like. Potential business owners come into town and don't get everything they need and then have to go back again and again, which becomes a deterrent for those people. Chairwoman Clements says she believes that when it was being created, every department weighed in on it, and she wants to know where it's lacking. Mr. Canoyer said the former town manager didn't make it part of the system. Chairwoman Clements felt it would be a good idea after the election, when all committees are formed, to meet with a representative from each department involved in the process and get the buy-in from those departments. She also stated that whomever the town manager is at that time will need to be strong and directional as well. Mr. Reed suggested getting the permitting guide in the best shape possible before presenting it to the department heads. Mr. Moore said if someone comes into Town Hall to open a business, that person should be able to sit down with all departments that are issued into that permit. Chairwoman Clemens said that when someone comes into town to open a business, they should first make an appointment with the planning department for that process. Mrs. Ackley noted that it's not a perfect science because she completes a checklist for each person and some people never come back for them. Councilor Moriarty asked how the town could be more proactive in recruiting new businesses, and Mrs. Ackley said the best way would be through marketing. However, there is a large expense with that. Mr. Rentis said that the firm he works for helps people start up new businesses, and he's found a handful of people that are frustrated with the way the town hall works. Those people feel they don't get the cooperation they need, and he suggested having a presentation for potential business owners so they could see what they need to do and what steps they need to take to open up a business. Councilor Peliquin said that in order to bring new businesses into town, there needs to be a culture of being customer service friendly, and the town hall doesn't necessarily have that culture, which is something they should actually strive for. She said the permitting guide doesn't belong to just Sandy Ackley, but rather the whole building, and they need to think of themselves across the organization as being invested in that permitting. Agenda item number 2 was to discuss awarding a CDBG contract for consultation services to redesign McCann Fields and Park and vote to send that to the Town Council. A motion was made by Citizen Member Calwett, seconded by Councilor Peliquin. Mrs. Ackley said that this is not going to happen at this time because there were some issues in terms of doing the RFP correctly. The RFP should outline how the interviews are going to be evaluated and how that weighs into the selection process. The acting town manager suggested she contact the Attorney General's office, and when she did so, she found that the process that had been used was flawed. Mr. Reed said that he had spoke with Councilor Carrasco about renewing the lease for the Southbridge Softball Association, as there is an option in the lease to renew by the town manager, but he did not know how much this would involve the town council. He's heard nothing but positive things about the softball group. Chairwoman Clemens asked if there was an out clause. Mr. Reed noted that he would look into it. Councilor Clemens said that if no action was needed at this time on the agenda item. Agenda item number 3 was to discuss awarding a CDBG contract for final engineering for the reconstruction of the southerly side of the Main Street sidewalks between the post office driveway and Goddard Street, and vote to send to Town Council. Mrs. Ackley presented an RFQ. The final design of engineering the project was under $25,000, so she needed to get at least 3 quotes, and they select the lowest bidder, which turned out to be the developer of the original plans. Mr. Cowett asked about the existing pavers. Mrs. Ackley said they're going to be redesigning the central lot, and the architect thought it would be nice to use them there. Mrs. Ackley is concerned about losing trees and said that any trees that need to be replaced will be replaced with appropriate street trees. Motion was made by Citizen Member Cowett, seconded by Councilor Peliquin, and a vote by show of hands was unanimous. Agenda item number 4, vote to accept a grant to install a splash pad at the Moore Street Playgrounds under the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, Our Common Backyards program. Mrs. Ackley read a memo from the Southbridge Historical Commission regarding the installation of the splash pad at the Moore Street Playground. She said at the current time it would cost about $14,000 to run the splash pad all day for 60 days plus electricity. It would also cost about $200 to prepare the splash pad for winter, and there are no estimates for repair costs. She said that all cities in the Commonwealth were invited to apply for this grant, and there had been a match from the town. CDBG funds would be used for that match, and town budget funds would not have to be appropriated. Mrs. Ackley said that they have already been awarded the grant, and if they get permission from Town Council, they will proceed very quickly in installing the pad. Mrs. Ackley said that there would be no initial cost from taxpayers. The splash pad had to be in an environmental justice area, and the Moore Street Playground is right on the cusp of that. There are a lot of children in that area. It is an 85% low to moderate income area. She feels that this would be a big draw if installed. Mrs. Ackley pointed out that it will be an unsupervised activity, but being nearby to the Recreation Director's office, it could be passively supervised. Chairwoman Clemens said a security camera in the community center would enable the Recreation Director to monitor the splash pad periodically during working hours. Mr. Cowett asked how many years the town would have to operate the splash pad. Mrs. Ackley said she didn't believe there was a time requirement. Mr. Reed said that this was a good way to make the town more attractive, but by providing more activities for kids. Mr. Cowett felt the money to operate the splash pad could be better used elsewhere. Councilor Peliquin said as a mother with young children, she would drive across town for them to use it, and she feels it would be a big draw for people across town. Motion was made by Citizen Member Cowett, seconded by Councilor Peliquin, with a favorable recommendation to council. Vote by show of hands, 3 in favor, 1 opposed. Finally, agenda item number 5, vote to appoint Jose Rentas to the Economic Development Commission for a 1-year term effective immediately through June 30th, 2015, to fill the position due to a member resignation and submit to council for ratification. Mrs. Petrelli felt that with Mr. Rentas' professional background, he will be an asset to that board, and Chairwoman Clemens agreed that we need people with good momentum. A motion was made by Citizen Member Cowett, seconded by Citizen Member Petrelli, and it passed unanimously. A motion to adjourn the meeting passed unanimously as well, so the meeting adjourned at 7:50 p.m.
Thank you, Councilor Moriarty. And Councilor Manna?
Thank you. Through you, I just have a question for the town manager, Mr. Reed. On agenda item number 3 of the June 3rd, 2014 Plan and Development minutes, it's stated that the project is under $25,000, so that 3 quotes are needed for that. Is it supposed to be over, or should that be over $25,000? That why we need 3 quotes, or is it supposed to read under? Okay, thank you.
Are you all set, Councilor?
Yep.
Thank you. 4F, Town Manager Search Committee report, there is none, and there's no meeting scheduled.
Excuse me, Council.
Yes.
PPP.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Councilor
I
Moriarty.
was not offended.
I'm sorry. Councilor Moriarty?
Sure. A meeting of the Protection of Persons and Property Subcommittee was held on Thursday, May 15th in the Rice Conference Room. In attendance were myself, Councilors Nicola and Carrasco, and Citizen Member Richard Nash. Also in attendance were Councilors Vandal and Manna, Chief Charette, Lieutenant Woodson, Sergeant Jose Dingy, Roger and Estelle Cowett, Janina Swayaki, Nancy Swayaki, Bill Dimitri, Robert Salisbury, Scott Bailey, Kevin Spillane. Councilor Langevin and Mark Cucci and Town Manager Bob Reed arrived at 7:40 p.m. Citizen Member Jack Jovan was absent. Chairman Moriarty called the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. The first agenda item was to discuss parking issues on Cole Avenue and Mill Street. As far as Mill Street, Chief Charette said a request was made to remove the no parking sign at 64 Mill Street. He said this can be done and still allow for safety vehicles to go through. A motion was made by Councilor Carrasco and seconded by Councilor Nicola with a favorable recommendation to council to remove the no parking sign near 64 Mill Street. As far as Cole Avenue, Chief Charette said he would suggest that it be reverted to the way it was before. Basically, this is right by the old Southbridge High School in terms of the lines have been painted white at some point in the recent past as opposed to the yellow, which prohibited parking. Parents should pull into the driveway to drop off and park to leave their children. The painted white band on the curb will be painted back to yellow. Chief Charette said he will get together with the DPW and WCAC to work out the details and bring back to council for voting. Agenda item number 2 was discussion of the animal control kennel. Chief Charette said our current animal shelter is very old, and he has been spending about $5,000 a year doing Band-Aid repairs while the place is still falling apart. He said it would cost approximately $140,000 to have a completely new building. He has gotten agreements to match any funds raised up to $70,000, and that he will try to work with Baypath and others to lower this cost. He is asking the council to approve an expenditure of approximately $50,000 to get things going. Chief Charette will gather more information and bring it to the council. Agenda item number 3 was discussion of potential police department promotions. Chief Charette said a big change took place with the installation of civilian dispatchers. He has 2 men who have been doing the work of these requested promotions, a deputy chief and a lieutenant. These men deserve the promotion and have been doing the work for the past 4 years. Chief Charette said he is not trying to grow the department, he is simply giving the men the title for the work that they have already been doing for the last 4 years without any complaints. Councilor Nicola asked what the salary changes would be. Chief Charette said stated it would be $8,500 a year for the lieutenant and $6,900 a year for the deputy chief. More and more administrative work is being done by these 2 men. Councilor Moriarty asked whether later in the year the chief would be asking for another sergeant's position to fill the spot that would be vacated by Sergeant Dingy. Chief Charette said no, unless there was a retirement or a vacancy created by someone leaving. Lieutenant Woodson would no longer be eligible for overtime, while Sergeant Dingy would be eligible the same way he has been up until now. Discussion was held on civil service testing. Chief Charette said Sergeant Dingy has taken the test and passed. Lieutenant Woodson has been doing the job, and there is no need to take the deputy chief test. The proof that he can do the job is in his actual doing it. He will not promote one officer without the other. They have both been doing the job, and it is only fair to promote both officers. Concern was raised on why now, and the chief said he has had this in the pipeline for a while now. Councilor Marcucci asked how she could justify these promotions when the sewer and water rates continue to go up. Chief Charette said that with the retirement of a senior officer, he is able to cover the cost of a replacement officer and make the promotions. Much discussion was held on the amount of the increased police budget and the two promotions. A motion was made by Councilor Nicola and seconded by Richard Nash to promote Sergeant Jose Dingy to lieutenant and Lieutenant Shane Woodson to deputy chief pending appropriate legislative action. Vote by a show of hands, 2-4, 1 against. Councilor Carrasco had left before the vote was taken. A motion to adjourn was made by Richard Nash and seconded by Councilor Nicola. Vote by a show of hands, all in favor, 3-0. Meeting was adjourned to 8:50 p.m. And the subcommittee will meet next on Thursday, June 19th at 6:30 p.m. To discuss and deal with fire department business. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Moriarty. Like I had stated, there's no minutes and no meeting scheduled for the Town Manager Search Committee. Agenda item number 5, Chairman's announcements. I only have one announcement this evening, and that is to thank Mr. Reed for the job that he has done for our community. He stepped into this position, and I know sometimes it's difficult when you have a permanent town manager and then you have an interim town manager come in. And this is the first time that that's happened to me throughout my years on council, and I'm thinking, you know, is this kind of going to be like a school teacher that calls out sick and then you have a substitute teacher that just comes in and sits there and just waits for something to happen? And I can tell you that certainly was not the case with Mr. Reed. He has opened up and tackled so many projects in the short amount of time that he has been here. And I'm not talking about projects that have been going on for years and have finally come forward. I'm talking about projects that Mr. Reed took upon himself, followed it through, and completed it for the council and for the community. This is Mr. Reed's last town council meeting, and I'm sure I can speak on behalf of this council and the community to really thank you for everything you have done for us, Mr. Reed, and we really do appreciate that. Thank you very much. Agenda item number 6, Town Manager's announcements. Mr. Reed?
Well, maybe I hadn't intended to say anything on this, but I just wanted to thank the council. Actually, everybody that I've worked with. The people in the town hall have been great to work with. Department heads have helped me out so much. I mean, anything that I've accomplished here, I really owe to them. They've just been a tremendous help to me. And the council. Every council member has been open and honest and cooperative and, you know, let me do the job that I needed to do. So I think Southbridge has a tremendous upside. I would certainly recommend this position to anyone who called me. It's unfortunate. I was kind of hoping that I'd be able to pass this along to the next full-time person, but that didn't work out. But I just wanted to thank everybody that I've dealt with here. It's really a great group of people, and I hope everything works out for the best for you. The first item I have is from the town clerk. Absentee ballots are now available in the office of the town clerk, board of registrars, town hall for the annual town election, which will take place on Tuesday, June 24th, 2014. Persons wishing to vote by absentee ballot must obtain an application for completion or return to the Town Clerk Board of Registrars no later than Monday, June 23rd, 2014, at 12 p.m. Voters may vote by absentee ballot for the following reasons: absence from the town during the hours the polls are open, physical disability, or religious beliefs, and relatives may apply for absentee ballots for Southbridge residents who are absent from the state. The local election will take place on Tuesday, June 24th, 2014, with voting precincts 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., and voters are urged to exercise their right to vote in the elections. Next item is regarding Household Hazardous Waste Day. This will be Saturday, June 28th, 2014, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Casella Waste Services Facility, 165 Barefoot Road, across from the landfill. Says see Southbridge Cable Access Channel 12 for more information. Quite a list of things that are accepted: aerosols, antifreeze, batteries, to tires, although on some of these I'll just list the things where there's a cost. Small appliances, $20 each, such as computer monitors, refrigerators, dehumidifiers, televisions, air conditioners, water coolers, or freezers. Propane tanks, $10 each. Automobile tires, $10 each. Truck tires, $25 each. Materials not accepted: asbestos, PCBs, explosives or shock-sensitive materials, ammunition, compressed gas cylinders, radioactive waste, pathological waste, infectious waste, or medicines. No food or sanitary waste will be accepted, but there's a long list of what is accepted. Everything, just about everything short of the list of what isn't accepted will be taken. More information is on cable channel. News release from Whitewater in Southbridge and Charlton. Southbridge Water Department will start its annual valve exercising program on Thursday, June 5th. So this is already started at approximately 7 a.m. and continue for approximately 6 to 8 weeks, and the exercising will start on Denison Cross Road and continue easterly through town. Due to the exercising, there may be some pressure loss and discoloration of water. Customers are advised to check their water before washing clothes. Customers may also get accumulated sediments in their house laterals, and this will clear after a brief run at the tap. So for more information, you can call the Department of Public Works, 764-5425. Next is from Will Canoyer on behalf of the website committee. On behalf of the website committee, Matty Doust, Sandy Ackley, and myself, meaning Will Canoyer, you can announce that the following information about the website: it is up and running. Same address, www.ci.southbridge.ma.us, at virtual town hall. I think the committee did a terrific job. I know that we converted to virtual town hall when I was in Leicester, and there were just endless details to be worked out, both with virtual town hall and all of the different departments. So I looked at the website. I think it'd be a great vehicle for both departments to get the word out, and also for citizens. And I also wanted to correct something. I was negligent at the hearing on the sewer and water rates, and I didn't thank Will for the great job that he did on the PowerPoint. So belatedly, Will, thank you. You did a great job on the PowerPoint. And even though it was mentioned in the subcommittee minutes, I wanted to make note of the grant which was received by DPW, Heather and Chris Clark, and their work in getting that, and both putting that together with the Energy Resources grant. I know that, speaking of the sewer rates, there was a great concern about the increase in the rates and what can be done as far as getting grant money to alleviate some of that. And I think this shows that the town had done everything that it could do, including parlaying it with an energy resource grant to help bring those costs down. This is about the only thing that you can do short of the SRF program, which is a loan program, which, like any loan, has to be paid back. So congratulations, I think, to Heather and Chris and the whole management team that ended up getting those funds for the town. That's all I have.
Thank you. Agenda item number 7, swearing-in presentations. There are none this evening. Agenda item number 8, citizens forum. Are there any citizens that would like to speak to council? Please approach the podium and identify yourself. Thank you.
How you doing? Dan Butler, 35 Brookside Road in Southbridge. In April of 2013, I believe it was, 14 months ago, I came up here and asked for the council's help with the sound, the noise problem with the trucks, Commercial Drive, Route 169, Worcester Street, I guess I call it, with the, I guess I call it at the time Jake brakes, but I found out since they call it engine brakes is another word for it. Back when I came and said something about it, I just pointed out that Worcester Street is a flat road, and that there was, to me, no reason to be using they're loud, the engine brakes. It's basically, from what I've been told from a few truck driver friends of mine, that it's just a lazy way to stop for a truck driver because they try to save their brake pads, so they reverse the exhaust on the engine to slow down. I said something that night, and since then, over the winter, I got kind of fed up because it's loud. It starts early in the morning when they're going up, and then it continues pretty much throughout the day. Sometimes on Saturdays as well, because I do some work up there on Saturdays. I had actually taken a video from my daughter's nursery room in the wintertime with the window shut, and on my phone, and you could hear very loud. I actually sent it to a few of the counselors. One of them's not here tonight. They heard it. They also said that it was rather excessive. I actually had set up a meeting, Mr. Clark at the time. I went up, I was supposed to be able to talk to Tracy up at the landfill. She was really nice and all. She gave me a tour of the landfill and all, but I was never given a chance throughout my meeting with Mr. Clark and her, probably an hour and a half, 2-hour meeting, to even bring up my concern with the noise. They just wanted to show me, how the landfill works and all, which personally is, I don't really care. I throw my trash away and my recycling, and it goes up there. That's what we all think, but for those of us that live, within the noise area, and now we're in the springtime, it's even louder. I can't even open the windows on, my west side of the house where my daughter's room is and her playroom. It's just all day long. My wife had surgery about a month ago. She's been home recuperating, and she's, I'm gone at night, she's gone in the day, so she's finally home during the day, and she says, wow, this is ridiculous. She can't take a nap. She can't, it's frustrating. And then back when I came April of 2013 to speak, I also had a neighbor with me at the time who lives directly parallel to the bottom of that Commercial Drive. She has kids. She had, complained basically the same thing I did. We both went home from that meeting, and later when we watched it back, I guess, on TV, one of the counselors has said that we were fabricating the noise because we did not like the word Casella, which is exactly what was said, and that's not the case. I personally don't care what, Casella, they're doing a business up there, I understand that. But my problem is they also should be following, the noise laws. What I was told, I've contacted State Rep Peter Durant's office. I was working with him most of the winter, also with Joe McKenna, his assistant, who has since left, and the other day told me, sorry, you're kind of on your own again. So I'm right back to you guys asking for help. I was told from the Mass DOT that, and this is exactly what Mr. Durant said to me, that the Mass DOT said that they do not issue no engine brake zones in Massachusetts for safety concerns, which I've since found out is a complete lie. To be blunt, I found, this is quick, I've got a 1-year-old daughter at home, so it's very hard to, do any research or anything, but I've found 5 towns off the top of the bat doing searches. Holyoke, Hanover, Tewksbury, Hingham, and Linfield all have, it is exactly worded, no engine brake in their noise ordinance in their town bylaws, and there's actually fines for it, $300 for Holyoke, for instance. I've actually got a story, 2-page story right here from Mass Live, about the $300 fine for brake noise in all of Holyoke. It's not just a single road. I've also since found, just from driving around in Oxford, Massachusetts on Depot Road, coincidentally directly across the street from the Mass DOT barn is a big sign. If you're coming in off of 395, I believe it is, no engine brakes no engine brake noise, I believe was the sign says, directly across the street from the Mass DOT barn. I also saw one the other day in Ludlow on Route 21, driving north, no engine brakes, next, I think it was 1,500 feet, or I don't know, it was going into a residential area. My question is, as a council, I mean, this is our town, you know, and we keep asking for something. I know Ms. Nicola had said before this is the same problem they had Pleasant Street years ago, but now it's just shifted to the other side of the hill. And I mean, I understand, you know, the DOT saying it's a safety issue. I can understand maybe, I'm reading this article here that, like I said, it was in Mass Live. The author is Mike Plaisance, I think it is. And it says the City Council of Holyoke approved it in a vote 11-4. And it says the noise from the engine brake can be minimized using a muffler, which some communities have required vehicles to use in such cases. Isn't this a, you know, we take our cars to be inspected and all. I actually talked to Tracy up at the landfill, and I told her some of the trucks, there's a company named MBI, I think is it, they have red trucks, white trailers. I don't even hear those trucks. They are very quiet, up and down the hill, very quiet. They're brand new, nicely well-maintained trucks. I have no problem with that. I've made sure and tell her over and over, these guys are great. The problem is the older vehicles, as I've told her. I've actually described some of the trucks as a white one with a blue stripe on the side. There's a bright purple one. They're all the older type trucks, and they're all the ones with the single cab. There's no sleeper on it and all. Those are the ones that are, I mean, absolutely ridiculously loud. And I keep asking, you know, the DOT doesn't want to do anything. As a council, can we, I mean, all these other towns are putting up things to protect their noise ordinance. It's either a fact of DOT looking at these trucks and saying they're way too loud, put a muffler on it, or we as a council saying enough. You know, if you want to come up to our landfill, you know, have respect for the people living around you. I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm being completely respectful here, but
No,
it's been 14 months and I've seen nothing get done. No offense to Mr. Clark, he's gone now. We're losing another town manager tonight. I know there's nothing much he's going to be able to do, but as a council, can we do something?
Okay, hold on. Councilor Nicola, did you have something to say?
Yes, I did. Thank you. I did follow up on this after you spoke.
Thank you.
And I had some suggestions. I have no clue on this, but I kind of thought that there might be something we could do in the way of a sound absorber. I've seen those. I was in discussing this with the then town manager, Mr. Clark. He had suggested that it was possible that they would put up what they call arborvitae, which I guess are those pointy, ugly
Bushes.
trees,
Yeah.
bushes, things that they have. And then when I followed up with him, I was told that whoever the property owner was at the base of the road had already done something similar to that. And it was kind of left at that. I didn't hear any more about it. I'm not sure how we enforce a no, whatever you call those brakes.
Engine brake, Jake brake.
Okay, I don't know
yeah.
how it's enforced. I don't imagine we're going to put a cop at the bottom of the hill watching. However, I would recommend, through you, Madam Chair, I know that you're leaving, Mr. Reed, but maybe whoever's going to be in your place could look into the possibility of one of those sound absorbers, at least see if that would do it. I think, do you know what I'm talking about? Those, it looks like a wooden wall or something. You see
like
them
on the
up
Jersey
major
Turnpike.
highways.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, I know that it might be something that they're going to have to play with in terms of visibility when you get to the bottom of the hill, so you can see around the thing. But that was my initial thought, and 9 times out of 10, my initial thoughts are right on. So I would recommend that it be looked into. If this is still a problem, it should be at least, addressed in terms of looking into what can be done there. Again, I don't know, maybe speaking to the chief also to see if in fact there's some way of enforcement of something at that area, but seeing as Mr. Butler has made this not the first trip to the town hall regarding this issue, I obviously have no knowledge of it. I don't live up that far, so I don't hear it, but it must be a problem.
Like I said,
So if you would-
I got video of it if anybody wants to listen. Or you're welcome to come sit at my house for a day and listen. It's frustrating.
Councilor Manna, did you have something?
Yes, I did. Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. I did talk about this probably about a month and a half ago right here at the town council meeting, and I did research a little bit on the Holyoke. And I mentioned something to Chairman Langevin, and he was supposed to get in touch with somebody up at Casella, and I'm not sure if he did yet. But if you want to give me those towns that you researched, I have no problem sending an email to their offices and to see what
Certainly.
type, how their bylaws
How they
and whatnot
approached it,
came
yeah.
about. I have no problem doing that at all for you.
Appreciate that.
So-
Appreciate it. Yeah, I can do that. I'll meet you afterwards or
Okay,
however.
thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Mr.
everybody.
Butler. We'll
Take
try to
care.
help you out as much as we can. Thank you very much. Are there any other citizens that like to come before council? If you could state your name, please, and your address.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, Councilors. Stephanie DiMartino, 92 Harrington Street. Last week I was interviewed, Channel 3 News, and I was asked about what has the town council done in the 3 years following the tornado. And the question that was being asked was, have trees been planted? So I'm coming tonight to ask, would there be any possibility of trying to go for a grant to acquire money to plant trees, especially going up the landfill road? Because when the road was first being proposed, I wrote a letter to the editor explaining that if you took the trees out to put the road in, the trees do soak up moisture, and so now you're losing that added benefit of those trees. And I was told at that time that if the road was to be built and the trees were taken out, the trees would be replanted. But then the tornado happened, so actually more trees were taken out. So to the reporter's questions last week, I did answer that the town was very involved after the tornado and did a lot to help the residents. But they did bring up a good point in adding to Mr. Butler's comments earlier. I believe trees would also act as a sound barrier and help with the noise. And so if we could look into any possibility of any type of grant in the near future to get some trees back into the area that was devastated by the tornado, that would be great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
My name's John Pulaski, 3 Jennison Street. This is not I told you so, because I sat back and kept my mouth quiet about this the whole time, because I didn't want to look like I was against everything. And Mr. Lazo had the faith to have me as the citizen member of the Planning and, was it Planning and Development Committee? And I sat there for a year, and the second biggest reason not to vote for me is I missed, I believe, 3 meetings that year. I looked at the agendas, they didn't look important. But what was mentioned at one of the meetings by the state people that we hired, I believe it was an industrial agency, I think the town gave them $25,000. And I'm kind of ashamed I kept my mouth shut on this. I thought it would be brought up to the town. It wasn't. It's not a big thing. But these people from the industrial park told us this is not an industrial park. It can't be an industrial park. The grade is a little too high. But they didn't suggest we don't put roads in. A very intelligent gentleman who'd been driving trucks for 30 years came up here and told us it wouldn't be safe because there's too much of an angle, safety problems in the winter at the bottom, or even those brakes can't stop you if you have momentum. Fortunately, the trucks coming down tend to be lighter than going up, so that's a blessing. I'm glad we're not taking things from the landfill, but we do bring leachate from the landfill in trucks. It is a safety issue, and they did tell us we could make an office park. I don't want to sound like they said the industrial park was useless. The road was already in, but they did suggest office park potential might be greater. So there are some positive things. As the landfill shuts down, they'll be clean enough to do that. But someone made a comment in recent meetings, 2 gentlemen on your committee, and that kind of put them together. There's a synergy. And one was sweeping things under the rug, and the other is a term I heard tonight, and if I'm misquoting it, passive oversight or passive supervision. I think we have too much, I mean, we got the landfill as it is, but I think we have too much passive supervision. I know dozens and dozens of people complain about smells. They were told it was freshly cut grass. I mean, you know, it's one thing believing your own eyes, you can definitely believe your own nose. But what I'm saying is perhaps we should have less passive oversight. Maybe there should be a policeman up there all the time. Maybe we could even educate the Department of, the DEP would encourage and probably pay for extra classes for police officers that are interested in that type of oversight. And it really will save us a lot of money. And we would need this whether we shut the landfill down next week, which I don't think anyone's talking about. People are talking about phasing it out and saving the resource for our community. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I probably exceeded 5 minutes. But a lot of people came to about this. And instead of saying, oh, who said what when, let's just make the most of that. Not when the landfill shuts, the question was asked the other night, but now. Let's forget about the industrial idea and look for an office park. Or maybe a school at the bottom. Let's work with it and make it work. Because actually, the more we have going on there, the easier it will be to raise money for the cleanup later on. You know, make it a productive part of our community instead of something we ignore. Believe it or not, some else we voted for on that committee that didn't come out, I think, right. That master plan that ignored the landfill, which is a big part of our town, probably a quarter to a third of its economy. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you especially to Councilor Nicola and Councilor Langevin, especially you, Councilor Marcucci, who you two came back. I look at service on the council, looking at the work you folks do. It's kind of like at least being in the reserves in the military, because I know you take time for your family, and whether or not I agree with you or what you do, I know you're really sacrificing your family. It's kind of like being in the reserve. And every single one of you I know take your job very seriously. And once again, thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Pulowski. Councilor Manna, do you have something?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, through you. I appreciate Mr. Pulaski coming up to Citizens Forum and speaking. However, I find it very disheartening to hear the reason he didn't come to 3 of the subcommittee meetings when he was on the Planning and Development Board was because he didn't think those meetings were important enough. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens?
I'm Kathy Chernisky, and
Excuse me, could you just come up to the microphone a little bit more, Mrs. Chernisky? We can't hear you. Thank you.
okay.
Yeah.
It's nice looking quote, yeah.
Just hold on for a second. We have technical difficulties. All set?
Is that better?
No.
Okay.
Just give him a microphone. One of these.
All right.
Just speak loud.
Mrs. Chernisky, why don't you come up here and let the gentleman hold
This is working now.
Oh, it's working
Murphy's
now.
Law, Mrs. Chernisky, it's working.
Okay.
How's that? All righty. My name is Kathy Chernisky, excuse me, and I'm here for Relay for Life. This quilt was donated to our Chernisky Crusader team, and to raise money, and we're not doing a team this year, so we're giving it to the Relay for Life to just earn money off of it. I have to tell you that it's going to be raffled, and it will be raffled for $1 a ticket or 10 for $5. And the drawing will be at Relay, what's the date?
Saturday, the 14th.
Saturday, the 14th of June. If you want to buy advance tickets, you can call me at my home, and that's 508-764-7864. All of the money made on this and anything else done at Relay goes to help people with cancer and their families. Research and funding has been canceled, not completely, but dropped, cut a lot this year. And a lot of people are going to have a tougher time. I have a son and I have a grandchild that has both had cancer within the last, say, 7 or 8 years. And you could not believe the expenses. This money helps research, which we don't want to end. It helps families that can't afford the medications and the treatments that they need. It helps emotion-wise. It helps the family member to be in a hotel near their loved one that has cancer and going through the treatment, who need to have family for emotional support to go through something like this. And that's been proven several times in people that I know and with my own family. It also helps if it's a child and they have, or a teenager, and they're able to go to camp, they're at that age, they can go to a camp with other teenagers and peers in their age group that have the same type of cancer, and it helps them understand the stuff they're going through. That you can't believe how much the body is worn down from graft versus host, which is when the body and the transplant connect. When you have the transplant, they fight each other like crazy, and they can interfere with every part of that body. I know that my son Bob, who had leukemia and had to have a bone marrow transplant, 1 year, I think it was his 2nd year after having the transplant, graft versus host affected his kidneys, so he's now on dialysis, his heart, his lungs, his pancreas, and his liver, all at the same time. And it's a tough deal. They need all the support they can get, and they can get that through the Relay for Life. Relay for Life is not done just in our area, it's done all over the world. All the states, all counties are trying to raise money that way. And I would highly recommend that you support it, even if it's just $1. If you can afford more, give it, because they're going to need it in the next few years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Chernisky. It's absolutely beautiful, and I would encourage everybody to support this great cause, and we appreciate that donation.
Okay. This was donated from the Charlton Quilters Guild, and they donate every year, but this year they made an extra large one for the help.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens? Seeing none. Agenda item number 9. Just want to make mention that before I read this, there was a typo. This is a one-year term and not a two-year term. Vote to appoint Jose Rentas of Southbridge to the Economic Development Committee effective immediately for a one-year term to expire June 30th, 2015 due to member resignation. Could I have a motion? Motion, second?
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous of all present. Agenda item number 10, vote to transfer the sum of $11,750 from Project 8266 Airport T Hangar to Project 6346 Fire Department Pumper Truck.
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second, please? Second. Motion second. Any discussion? Seeing none? Councilor Moriarty?
I'm sorry, I'm one off, that's all.
Seeing none? All those in favor? Actually, I better do a roll call on this because it's a two-third. Thank you.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Carrasco?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item number 11, vote to approve the zoning bylaw amendment for keeping of livestock on less than 5 acres as recommended by the planning board. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Motion and a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Good evening.
Gus Steve, 771 Lebanon Hill. As you guys know, I've been kind of involved in this pretty much since it began 2.5 years ago, whenever it was. And I have some serious concerns about the way this was drafted. It started, as you know, as a chicken bylaw and then suddenly became a livestock bylaw. And they're really two very different things. Chickens take up about this much space each. We're not talking cattle. And I personally would like to see them separated again. One of the concerns I have is that the process as described seems kind of arbitrary. The case-by-case could indeed allow some of the smaller lots to get animals, but it also invites favoritism if not very carefully handled. I'm concerned that we need to split out the hens and make them a by right use if possible, with a prorated, I think a prorated number up to a dozen per acre. So the number can be negotiated, but I think that this is an issue really of encouraging people to be able to support themselves food-wise, at least in a small scale. I think the other livestock should go to public hearing, because that tends to take up more space. It can be louder. As long as they're hens, they're generally not loud. And I'd like to see this, if possible, reduce the space requirement to 10 feet from the nearest property line. Because if you look at 25 feet, that basically, this room is maybe 40 or 50 feet wide. It would eliminate your ability to use this entire space. And chickens don't take that much space. That's all I really had to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Does anyone have any comments? Councilor Manna.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate Mr. Steve's concerns in regards to the chickens being separated from the livestock, as I also had that concern at a subcommittee meeting. Chickens are definitely, they're not your cows, they're not lambs, they're not goats, they're not llamas, they're not camels, they're not horses, they're not nothing, they're chickens. And I too also believe that that should have been kept separated. And that's all I want to say on that.
Okay. Anyone else? Come on in.
Maureen Doyle, 771 Lebanon Hill. As you all know, I'm very in support of chickens, but livestock is just kind of going too far. I don't want an elephant, I don't want a horse, I don't want a cow, chickens. So I think it should go back to a chicken bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. Would this council be in favor of sending this back to subcommittee, or how would we like to handle this? Councilor Nicola.
I don't think subcommittee really has a lot of teeth here. I think it really if anything, I mean, when you read the,
Back to the planning board?
yeah, I would suggest the planning board. They're the ones who you know, are the architects of this. And when you read the letter that was submitted to the council through the chair on, as of January 16, 2014, it does state that the original proposal included a new definition for household chickens. It also states that there was a public hearing that was held back in October of 2013. So I guess, you know, with all the information that they had, and it says that they deliberated long and hard over the issue, possibly, you know, they conferred with our health director, Mr. Pelletier. Maybe, you know, maybe we should take another run at it through the planning board, but I don't think that, you know, going to a subcommittee is certainly not going to make the final decision at a subcommittee. It probably should be re-examined, and if in fact the planning board wants to include all these other animals, maybe there should be two separate bylaws.
Okay. Councilor Manna?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. I agree with Councilor Nicola on sending it back to the planning board and re-looking at this. I also had brought up looking at other areas, the bylaws that they have in their, for their chickens. And Somerville is a really good town to look at. They are very agriculture friendly within their community, and I don't know if they looked at those bylaws. I had printed them, I had read them, I don't know them off the top of my head, but I believe they keep their chickens separate from livestock, and they encourage people raising chickens for their eggs. They encourage honeybees, they encourage the agriculture, the farming, and being sustainable, the farmers market within the community. So I would really like to see some research done on other communities and how they deal with their bylaws.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other councilors? Councilor Vandal?
I'd like to see some experts coming in that know chickens and stuff. I mean, these people on these committees, they're good people, but they don't know the first thing about a chicken. I don't think they know the difference between a hen and a rooster. I mean, I know chickens. I had chickens when I was, younger. I worked on a farm 2 summers. We had plenty of chickens. I know chickens, I'm telling you, and they're nice pets, and they give food. Either you have meat or you have eggs. And when I say, I never attended any meetings because I didn't want to blow my stack. You got people making rules and regulations that don't even know chickens or animals, as a matter of fact. I know one of them on one of the committees, he never even owned a cat, so he never. I'm against this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm
Councilor
sorry,
Manna?
can I just say one more thing? I do want to say, though, I do agree with keeping the chickens out of the center of town in the most populated areas. That could be a health hazard, I believe. But just to encourage to look at the other communities, especially Somerville, I stress Somerville, and to look at their bylaws. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay. Any other councilors? Mr. Butler? I'm sorry, Councilor, did you have your hand up?
Oh, Mr. Butler can go first, that's
Are
fine.
you sure? Yeah. Mr. Butler, go ahead.
Ladies first. All right. Well, to me, I moved up here from Kentucky, so all this is absurd to me, regulating animals. But I understand we're a town, but I'm just confused. Like tonight, I've been to every meeting, like like Gus said. I've been to all the meetings since the beginning, except for the very last one. My wife had surgery; I couldn't make it, and it just seems like every meeting I've been going to, everything just keeps changing, like across the board on what is good, what is not, what we can have. I remember when it first started at the public forum a meeting back in October, it was, back then they were trying to discuss whether it was going to be for, half an acre or an acre or this and that, and it included chickens and ducks and this and that, and then it's changed, like they said, it changed to livestock and all. I guess I'm just confused. Are we going to, like, tonight I'm seeing it on the agenda here, but is anybody going to read what the final?
Well,
because it's just very confusing right now.
You have to understand, the planning board, they're an autonomous board. we don't control the planning board. What we could do as a council is take no action on this evening, and then Mr. Reed could forward the concerns and have the planning board reevaluate and relook at this proposal and maybe citizen input at the next planning board meeting when they do address this and have it on the agenda.
Okay.
Could be attended.
Just so it's more clear on what animals are included, what's not, because
Right.
there's fowl, which would be ducks, chickens, peacocks, I guess, I don't know.
Okay.
And then goats, chicken, All right, thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Peliquin.
I'd just like to agree with the former councilor's statement that I think that fowl should be regulated separately from livestock, because I believe that the livestock are subject to annual barn inspections, and I don't believe somebody with a chicken needs to have their chicken inspected annually. I think that's going a little too far. So I think that the chickens maybe can stand a little less regulation than somebody who has cows, for example. So I think this should go back to the planning board. Thank you.
Understood. Mr. Pelletier, do you have something?
To Ms. Pelican's point, the decision on which animals get inspected or not actually happens at the Department of Agriculture, and the head of the Department of Agriculture, the director, has the authority to pick which animals, and he chooses that chickens are an agricultural animal and do get inspected by the animal inspector. So that's not a local decision. That's in the Department of Agriculture.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? So is the council's pleasure to take no action on this agenda item this evening? Do we need
Make
that
a
in the
motion
form
that
of a
we
motion?
vote on that, Counselor. Yeah, I'll make a motion that we vote to take no action at this
And
time.
I'll second that motion. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Carrasco?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 12, vote to accept the invitation from the Department of Housing and Community Development to submit an application to develop 7 units of quality housing at 1 through 11 Central Street. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Councilor Vandal.
Central Street is no place for housing. We put housing in the Robbins building when they refurbished it and all, and they put families up there with kids. Families shouldn't be brought up on upstairs from downtown. And the families were sitting on a stoop out there this summer, and in the fall when the place opened, and kids are playing on the sidewalk and the families sitting on the stoop. It's not a place for kids, just like they want to refurbish a lot of places downtown. They want to put apartments up there. There's no place for apartment. If they want to put for elderly housing, 55 plus, they got my blessing. But it's not a place to bring up kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Carrasco?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, I'm not sure who this would go to, this question, but in regards to the rehabilitation of these apartments, my main concern is children. I mean, are we putting them on top of, Central Street, we have 2 or 3 different bars there, or are we, I know it's not our responsibility, it's just a concern. We've had issues with people crossing the street on Main Street, so if we're gonna put little kids there on Main Street, it would be a concern. I'm not sure who would, but again, the property owner has the right to do what he wants with the building, as we've learned in the past. Doesn't matter what we as councilors say, but it's just a concern. That's what I would have.
Thank you. Councilor Nicola?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to enlighten this council. A couple of years ago, when we had one of our Santa Claus parades in town where we lit the tree and all that sort of thing. I was leaving the festivities on Main Street, making a beeline for the Common, and there were a few children standing on the corner of Main and Central Street, and they looked a little lost, and I asked them what was up, and they wanted to know where the hot chocolate and cookies were going to be. So I explained to them where that would be, and I told them that they probably should, check with their folks about going down there and where was that they lived, and guess where they lived? 1-11 Central Street. So we already have families living in that area, or did at the time, and we have for years. I appreciate the concern of the council, but I also have to say that at some level, we need to step back and let people do what they need to do. As far as the apartments on the corner of Main and, where the Robbins Street building is, what is that?
Chapin Street.
Chapin Street, I'm sorry. I actually toured those apartments when they were almost completed, and I'll tell you, if I could have afforded that, I would have loved to have taken one of them for myself. They're absolutely stunning. They're elegant. We can't do it both ways, and I'm going to vote in favor of something like this because we kind of need to do that. We need to put our money where our mouth is. You can't control everything, and if you have the opportunity to have funding to refurbish those apartments, it's not for the town council or any public official to say who has the right to live there and who does not. That's, to me, a little bit pushing the envelope. So I am going to vote in support of this. And if we are going to have people who choose to live on Central Street, at least they'll be living in nicer apartments than they're living in now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Peliquin?
I'd just like to state that I don't think any child growing up on Central Street probably wants to be growing up on Central Street, but we have to take into consideration the fact that we have, we're number one across the state for childhood asthma, and it's a direct correlation to the poor quality housing that our children are growing up in. And so I think any opportunity we have to rehabilitate residential housing in this town, we should take that opportunity. So I will be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Moriarty?
Thank you. I want to echo, I think, kind of more so the last two speakers, in that, certainly Central Street is not the ideal place to raise a family by any means. However, it's private property. It's up to those folks as to who they're renting out to, regardless of what I or anyone else thinks. Just like private property and colors of churches, signs, trash bag color, all that kind of stuff. This is something that, similar to what Councilor Peliquin just addressed, if this is going to improve the quality of stock of housing, whether it's low-income housing that it's a single father with one kid, or if it's a family, or if it's just one or two people, adults without children, if it's going to make that place better and it's really not costing us, it's just through this grant opportunity, then I think it's foolish not to take it. And just in general, I understand the concerns as far as I don't think this is promoting putting children in there. I've not been in any of these apartments, but I'm going to guess that they're probably one, maybe two-bedroom apartments at most. So it's not as if it's something that, short of tenement-style housing where you've got a half dozen kids sleeping on couches and on the floor and in the bathtub. I doubt you've got many children living up there to begin with. And I'm going to vote in favor of this because, again, I'm just not a big fan of the whole nanny state that we sometimes do up here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Carrasco?
Yes, and also I just want to be very clear that I will be abstaining from this vote due to my organization being part of the realtors that's applying for this grant. I will abstain from this vote.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Councilor Manna?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. I don't think any one of us should be discussing where children should be living and where they should not be living. I believe that's bordering on the line of discrimination because landlords, I believe, are not allowed to tell people, no, you cannot live here because you have children. That is not up to us. I believe there's laws out there against that type of discrimination, and that shouldn't even be a discussion up here whatsoever. I'm not an attorney, but I'm sure an attorney might say the same thing. I will be in favor of this. Not only is it bringing in more homes for people that need homes, but it's giving a facelift too. So it's beautifying in that area also. So I will be voting in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Carrasco, just a point. Are you making that in the form of a disclosure for your abstention? Could that be noted, please?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. No further discussion. I'll have a roll call, please, on that.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
No.
Counselor Carrasco?
Abstain.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
6 yes, 1 abstain.
Thank you. Agenda item number 13, vote to approve the zoning map change on Worcester Street as recommended by the Planning Board. Expand light industrial zone at Worcester and Vinton Street by rezoning 3 properties on Assessor's Map 15, lots 129 and 130 from general business to light industrial, and lot 131 from 2-family residential to light industrial, as shown on a map filed with the Town Clerk's Office entitled, quote, 2014 zoning map request, Worcester Street, unquote. This is the first reading.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Carrasco?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes. Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 14, vote to award CDBG contract with Fuss & O'Neill in the amount of $4,200 for preparation of bidding and construction documents for the reconstruction of the Chestnut Street terminus.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Carrasco?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 15, vote to recommend that the town adopt Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 23D regarding excused attendance of board members and qualified voting privileges under certain circumstances.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilor Moriarty.
Thank you. I just wanted to I'll be voting against this tonight. I'm not a big fan of kind of allowing or accommodating for excused absences and such, similar to what we last year discussed, I believe it was last year, regarding the remote participation at meetings and things to that effect. And just kind of looking at the Mullins Rule a little bit in some of my research, 2 of the things that kind of jumped out at me. One was an article from the Salem News in which they noted that one particular official, once that town had adopted this particular piece, there was one particular official who hadn't attended a single hearing since, because they were able to just kind of at their leisure listen to the audio or watch the tape, and therefore didn't have to actually attend any of these meetings and still be able to vote, or the hearings rather. Another was a court case that stemmed out of the town of Milton that went to the Superior Court, in which the judge pointed out, in his opinion anyways, that the Mullin Rule, quote, imposes extra public service burdens on volunteer members of local boards, end quote. And just in general, I understand the intent of this, and it provides for some flexibility. However, I think whether you're on an appointed position or an elected position, if you're putting your name forward and planning to serve in that capacity, then you should be making every possible attempt to be there, save medical, certain, extreme cases, things like that. If it's because of social issues or, you're just tired that night or it's a controversial issue, you don't want to kind of get caught up in it, that sort of stuff. I don't like that. And like I said, just from what I've seen, I think it's a slippery slope, and I understand, again, that it provides for some extra flexibility, but to me, it's in the wrong direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Manna?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. I was going to suggest, I see Mrs. Zackley out there in the audience, if she could come up and explain to us who this would apply to. My concerns also, too, did go with you brought up the social, the technology connecting June by the Skype and whatnot, but that has nothing to do with this. This, from what I understand, this has nothing to do with the technology that we had discussed before. So if Mrs. Zackley could please explain this to us a little bit better, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Hello. With me is Chairman Dave Pear of the Planning Board. And I think the question that you asked, Councilor Moriarty, was who would this, or was it you, who would this apply to? So the answer is not an easy one, because who knows why somebody doesn't or is not able to attend. I don't think we expected that anybody would ever not attend to be lazy, but in the interest of being a more business-friendly town, we felt that whether you agree with the Cumberland Farms project or not, it got held up by several months because it was in the wintertime and we had members who were not able to come. And I think that's what we were trying to avoid, wasn't it?
Yeah, the negative aspect, the way I'm looking at it, is for the applicant. He needs, or she needs, 5 positive votes. If there's 6 members there, they have to get virtually everybody there. Only one person can dissent. To me, it's a service to the public to have 7 members when you need 5 as a positive vote for a special permit. That's basically my aspect of it. I mean, we've got a very good track record. You can look at our attendance over the years. I mean, I've been there almost 27 years. Larry's been there 25 or so. Everybody is very cognizant of being there. They're very responsible people. I think it's a disservice to the public when they come for their scheduled public hearing, and guess what? There's only 6 of us there, and they've got a choice of saying yes or no, go 2 weeks, and we'll see if we can get 7 members. I can only vouch for myself and hope I won't be sick, but it's just something that we can't predict with 7 people that they're always going to be there.
Right.
And you could only miss 1 meeting.
That was another thing I was going to bring up. You can only miss how many, there was a certain amount, it was
1
one
meeting.
But my question wasn't to which people would this apply, to which board? Would it just be for the planning board? Are you just adopting this for your board?
We're thinking it's also for the Conservation Commission? Yeah, the Conservation Commission also.
So it would be for the planning board and the Conservation Commission
Right,
only?
right.
Okay, thank you.
It's for making special permit
This would,
decisions.
so this wouldn't apply to like the liquor licensing board, the agriculture, town council?
We can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. This wouldn't apply to like the liquor licensing board. It wouldn't apply to the town council, the agricultural commission, just the planning board and the conservation commission. Okay, thank you.
As far as what Mr. Moriarty talked about, I can imagine if they had 1 meeting for each special permit and they closed it. And then the next time they had 1 meeting and they closed it. It'd be a silly situation. Most of the special permits go on more than 1 meeting. And I was proposing if we did it, that we'd have both the written and an audio of that whole special permit being available to the member that missed it. But that's, like I said, to me it's a service to the public and not a service to us.
Councilor Kohler, before, could I have Mr. Reed? Thank you very much.
Well, to answer the question, who would apply to, the statute says a member of any municipal board, committee, or commission when holding an adjudicatory hearing. So, for example, if I believe the liquor board and others So it would go beyond just the planning board or conservation commission. Certainly, this is different than the remote participation, which I guess the council had acted on some time ago, which I didn't support, but I do think this is a good idea. We've talked about expediting permitting, making the town more friendly for economic development and so forth. I think this can avoid holdups, avoid quorum problems. As been pointed out, it only applies, you only allowed one absence. I think if there's abuse of this, then that's something that's separate and can be dealt with. But I think that this is I think, to my understanding, towns have, as opposed to the remote participation, which I don't think has been favorably responded to by communities, I think this has been, just for the benefits that it provides, and I would support it.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Councilor Nicola?
Thank you. Is it possible that we specify that we would only allow this particular Mass General law to apply to special permitting boards like the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission? Because, you know, having been to the dance for 9 years, believe me, people will do anything, and have. So, you know, I have no problem making it a convenience for people coming forward who are requesting special permitting, and why should they have to make more, 1 or 2 or 3 trips, because there's not enough people there to do their bidding. But to make it across the board, I have a problem with. I do.
Mr. Reed?
What's really being asked here is the acceptance of the statute, which does allow all boards and committees that hold adjudicatory hearings. So it says, notwithstanding any general or special law to the contrary. I think without such a law, which I don't know whether it will include a bylaw, a town bylaw, that might be a question for council. I think either the statute is accepted or it isn't.
Thank you.
Councilor Nicola, are you all set for now?
I'm still concerned about this one vote, this one time thing. I'm not quite sure I understand what you mean by that. Could you explain that a little more to me, Mr. Payer?
Well, we would open the special permit if say there were 6 of us there, and we said, well, we'll hold this open until the 7th member can review this tape, review this written record of this particular meeting. So we wouldn't close the meeting, we'd leave it open. At the next meeting, the member will have read it, signed that he has, under perjury, he signed that he has done that, and then that person could vote on that particular application. And it also is for the general public who would have shown up to either support or, you know, be opposed to whatever that person wants. So it's not only for the applicant, but it's for the general public who might have been also attending that particular meeting and couldn't attend in 1 and 2 weeks. So to me, it's like I say, it's a service to the public and not so much a service to us.
I see. Thank you.
Councilor Carrasco?
Through you, Madam Chair, Mr. Reed answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Peliquin?
So I'm just confused as to which specific boards and commissions this would apply to. So this would also apply to like the Liquor Board and the Board of Health? Everybody? Every single municipal board?
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, I guess my question is to Mr. Reed in regards to this going across the board. If the planning board is its own entity, couldn't they adopt this just for themselves? And if another board wanted this, couldn't they come and request it?
It's an acceptance statute. It has to be accepted by the town, meaning the town council, in order for it to be enforced.
No, I have a problem with it going across the board like that also. I wouldn't have a problem with it just being the planning board and the conservation and other people coming up to ask us, but just to have it. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
The Board of Health.
Stalemate.
Like I said, this was a request, neighboring towns have it.
I know.
It's a state statute. We thought we'd try it, and if it flew, then it would help us and help the public. But if it's not going to be something that everybody feels comfortable with, well, business as usual. It's the way we've been doing it. So.
I just wish it could be more specific, Mr. Payer. You
Right.
know, specifically Planning Board, Conservation Commission, and I don't
Right.
think legally we as a council could do anything because,
Right.
correct, Mr. Reed? Because it's...
You mean to amend it?
To amend, to be specific? Would that be legal?
Well, I guess it depends on what it means by a general or special law, for example, if that would include a bylaw. I don't know whether it does or not, or how you would amend this right now. I think it would either be up or down unless you wanted to get those questions answered and to ask who it applies to. It's any board or committee, basically, that holds adjudicatory hearings. I think that would include this council.
Would anyone be opposed to get a legal ruling on this? Councilor Vandal, go ahead first. I'm sorry.
I think this is just opening up a can of worms. I think all the others will be knocking on our door shortly. I know how this works. I've been here. I've been around a while. And it just smells. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Peliquin?
I would support this in terms of the boards that are involved with the special permitting process, because I do think that our permitting is slow and we need to make it more expedited, but I do think that other boards, like the Board of Health and the Liquor Board, I would not support this, and I don't know if this is something that we could do as a bylaw as opposed to doing permissive legislation from the state. So I think that this is something that we should get an opinion from a lawyer for. Thank you.
Councilor Nicola?
I would be in support of taking this and asking legal advice on whether or not we can accept it, but then once we accept it, limit it to certain boards, and see if that in itself is permittable or possible, as opposed to trying to write our own language. Just leave it as it is. It's a Mass General law. You really can't tweak a Mass General law. However, you can, I believe, and that's what I would want to know. Maybe you can't, but I would want to know from legal counsel, can you limit where you apply this Mass General law? That I would be more comfortable with.
I would support that. Does any councilor have a problem with that?
I have no problem with that.
Okay. We could check on that and
Fine.
get back to you. Is that
Be fine.
okay?
So
Thank you.
Should we amend to postpone this?
Yeah. If someone would make that motion, I would appreciate it.
I'll make a motion to postpone this to the next town council meeting, June 23rd,
And I'll second that.
after a review of the attorney. I don't know.
I don't know if we can be specific, Counselor, to the next meeting, but
Okay.
if it is, then that's fine.
Okay, well, I would make a
Just
motion
till,
to,
Attorney's recommendation.
yes, attorney's
Okay.
recommendation. Thank you.
There's a motion, and there's a second by Counselor Vandal. Could I have a roll call on that, please?
Counselor Carrasco?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Before I answer, could you read it back for me, please?
A motion was made by Counselor Manna and seconded by Counselor Vandal to return this item back.
It really has to be specific. It can't be tabled. It has to be postponed until review by legal counsel. If you leave it open-ended, it's against the law.
Counselor Manna, could I have you repeat that motion, please, seeing as you made the motion?
Okay. I make a motion to postpone agenda item number 15 and return to council upon attorney review. Is that good?
Sounds okay.
It's fine. And I'll vote yes, thank you.
Are you all set now, Counselor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Counselor Peliquin? Yes. Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 16, vote to send a zoning map request from Gulfwood Road to the planning board to receive public comment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous of all present. Agenda item number 17, vote to renew the contract with Group Benefit Strategies for Healthcare Consultant Services. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous of all present. Thank you. Agenda item number 18, vote to renew the contract with Massachusetts Interlocal Agency for Police and Fire Injured On-Duty IOD Insurance. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion. Motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous of all present. Thank you. Agenda item number 19, vote to renew the contract with Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Agency for Property Liability and Workers' Compensation Insurance. May I have a motion?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous of all present. Thank you. Agenda item number 20, vote to approve the contract with Sergeant Tyler and West for airport hangar keepers liability insurance.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Unanimous of all present. Agenda item number 21, vote to approve the contract with KMS Actuaries, I lost my place, for Gatsby 45 actuarial valuations as of 7/1/2013, $7,000, and of 7/1/2015, $7,200.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous of all present. Agenda item number 22, vote to ratify the attached scope of work from Weston and Sampson to write a standard operating procedure for performing a free chlorine burn on the water system in the event one is needed, and to be paid from water system capital account 14580 at a cost of $5,600.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Could I have a roll call on this, please?
Madam Chairman?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on a roll.
Okay, no,
Sorry.
and I don't want to disturb that cadence, but real quickly, I just want to politely remind the council, and I'm not speaking against this, that when we were speaking, some of us, against going with the chloramine, we were told that we need to go with chloramines because chloramines will prevent this chlorine burn, this free chlorine burn, which hopefully, although the operation manual, I agree, needs to be there, we don't really want it to happen. It's not a time to drink water. If you're concerned about, there's more chemicals released, the heavy metals that are within the system, it changes the chemistry of it all. I hope if we do that at that time, that we consider going back to chlorine. This definitely should be passed tonight. But if it gets to a point where we need to do that free chlorine burn, it's time to consider returning to chlorine, which generally speaking can be more healthy on a day-to-day basis. And that's all I'm saying. This is more for the future and because we're losing our institutional memory on the council coming up. So this is going to be up for a vote perhaps next year. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flowski. Councilor Manna?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. I believe the chloramines is a state mandated. That's why we went to chloramines, and we had extensive talk on that. And there was also an informational meeting, and it was broadcast on television. Also, the way I am reading this agenda item is that they want the money in that account in the event that this is ever needed. So they have the money there. This does not mean they are going to be doing this. So it's just a safety precaution on their part, correct?
Correct.
I can't hear you.
It's for the procedure on. It's for the procedure on how to do it. It's for an SOP, a standard operating procedure, in case they do need to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? May I have a roll call, please?
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Carrasco?
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 3, vote to approve the proposed revision to the cemetery policy.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous of all present. Thank you. Agenda item number 24, vote to accept a grant to install a splash pad at the Morris Street Playground under the Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs, quote, "Our Common Backyards," unquote, program.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilor Vandal.
Was this run by the Recreation Committee? This is a recreational thing. Has this been run by the Recreation Committee?
Councilor, I do not have that answer. Thank you.
Hello. Actually, I did work with the Recreation Director, but it actually came on my desk from the Governor's office. It's a form of community development, that's why.
Pardon? I can't hear you.
I think he's asking who's going to run it once it's up
Oh,
and
I'm
running.
sorry. I
No,
apologize.
I just wanted to know if it was run by, because I heard it wasn't.
Well, it would be run by the Recreation Committee or the Recreation Department. It would be located in the park right adjacent to their building, and they would provide some oversight. But the person from the granting agency told me that these splash pads are not really highly supervised, which surprised me, but she seemed to know. Apparently cities have them. There's actually one in our... Am I causing feedback on this microphone?
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Who's gonna monitor this? Nobody?
It would be monitored by to a certain extent, by the Recreation Director.
Has he been notified?
Yes.
I heard he wasn't. Thank you.
No,
I heard he
he
wasn't.
helped me locate a space, and
I know,
that's all I
I
can
know
say.
it was a last-minute thing, but who's gonna shut this off at night?
He would shut it off at night.
6 o'clock?
Yes, or whatever time the town chooses.
He works till 4 o'clock like the rest of the people, his hours. He's gonna come back in and shut it at 6 o'clock, just to be a nice guy, right?
Well, I think the town would get to decide how late they want it to stay
who?
on. The town would, the Recreation Department, on behalf of the town, could decide what the hours would be. I think the bigger issue is the cost of the splash pad from the point of view of water that it uses. Because what the question you're asking could be dealt with by the Recreation Department simply deciding to match the hours with their hours. The question of whether or not can you hear me okay? I feel like people aren't. The question of whether or not it would be, have oversight is one that I really can't answer.
It's probably gonna end up like the flags. We have to pay an individual to pick up, get all the flags in at night. The town doesn't do that, so you're gonna have somebody come in and to shut it down, and, I mean, he's not just putting off a switch, I'm sure. So, I have kind of a problem with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Councilor Nicole's report.
Thank you.
Councilor
Councilor Pelican was kind enough to fill me in on a few of the details on this because I couldn't attend both meetings at the same time. However, I am a little concerned about $14,000, but from what I understand, it's not running constantly. You actually have to approach it, press a button to start the water. So it's not like it's running 24/7 for 60 days. It says here it costs about $14,000. Maybe. We don't have an awful lot for the children in this community. It's been a constant complaint. I'm almost 60 years old. Since I was a kid, I complained, and I had the town pool across the street. But other than that, there wasn't a heck of a lot to do in this community. That area up in the Morris Street area really doesn't have much. And if you're a kid who's got to leg it down to anything, that would be a perfect location. You live up there, you know what I'm talking about. You got a lot of kids, you got sidewalks. I look at it this way. Do it the first year. If you don't get enough kids to actually attend, or if it appears to be a failure, we don't have to open it up next year. We're not installing it. We have a grant that's paying for the installation. And it's going to cost us a couple $100 to prepare it for the winter. I mean, it's not like we have the town pool anymore on Glover Street. That's gone. High Street, that's history. That's nothing but a gaping hole that we use when we can in the wintertime, because this isn't Manitoba, it's Southbridge, and it's not always cold enough to be able to skate for month after month in the winter. So in the summertime, I say I'm in support of it. Initially, not so much, but the more I think about it, we don't have enough for the kids in this community, and I think $14,000 is small change to make them happy for 60 days. So that's what I'm going to vote in support of it. Thank you.
Hold on, Councilor Manning. Go ahead, Mrs.
In the
Ackley.
interest of disclosure, I had an email from Heather.
I can't hear you, Mrs.
I'm
Ackley.
sorry.
It's not your fault.
No, it's very strange. Can you hear me a little bit better now?
A little bit.
Okay. In the interest of disclosure, I wasn't speaking loud enough, I'm sorry. Heather Blakely did email me with some updated figures. She based her figures on water usage in a different way. I went to the assessor's office and got what I thought was a daily rate. She said that really isn't appropriate, because if the more water you use in a given quarter, the higher the rate it is. And she came up with over $19,000 for a cost, which I thought you had in your packets.
No, we have 14.
And the other thing I wanted to be sure and tell you is that
$19,000.
that's what she
huh?
felt that the,
Thank you.
this is what it looks like, Counselor, if you have it.
Go ahead, Mrs. Ackley.
The other thing that I wanted to be sure and let you know is that just taking advantage of this grant, which we were asked to apply for, will be an incredible amount of work for us. And I would hate to think that all that work and effort would go for just one season. But that's just my opinion. But it's going to be a lot of work for us to do this. So,
But I think that it would be foolish that if you do all that work, we set it up, and nobody comes, that we continue to do it year after year after year. So, I mean, I'm perfectly content if the council is amenable to doing it for 1 year and seeing how it works.
Okay.
If it's not cost effective for somebody to be keeping an eye on this, and you have 5 kids maybe a day, no. You know, unfortunately, you can't make them go. I have a feeling it'll be fine. I'm just saying that if in fact it isn't fine, we don't just continue to throw good money after bad, that's all.
okay.
Thank you.
All set, Counselor?
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Manna?
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. I wasn't able to attend the last Plan and Development Subcommittee meeting, but I did read the minutes, and you did say there was some CDBG grant money to help offset the costs.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm very glad you brought that up. The town has what they call a match, and it's less for us. You could get up to $200,000, and $50,000 of it would be a match from the city. Because remember, this is for cities. They consider us a city. Well, that happens to be in one of our CDBG approved target areas. And from the sale of houses that we rehabilitated in the past, we have about $40,000 worth of program income, it's called, which we can use for CDBG projects. And this would be considered a CDBG project. So we can use some money from there, and also somebody from the Claire Burt Society very generously said, I think you should apply for funds from us to do the trees, because we are going to install some trees also.
Okay.
And we could also ask, and will ask, the contractor who will be doing the work up there, if they would do some in-kind labor to help us out.
Okay. So I guess my question is, I mean, this would be marvelous, I believe, if the economy were better. But you're talking about we have the grants. But is that just for this year? I'm talking about future costs. How much is it going to cost us to maintain it? Future costs. So would we have the CDBG money every year?
No, they don't, no, that
Is
would
it-
not be appropriate. CDBG money can't be used for maintenance like that.
Okay, so
But-
that's a one-time use?
Right.
Okay, so I guess my concern is because, I mean, there's wear and tear, the weather-related issues. I mean, the governor's so kind to give this to us and tell us we need to spend all this money. And I do believe, too, that it really would be good for the kids, but my concern is, the future costs, I mean, the maintenance on it. So that's a huge concern of mine. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Carrasco.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. I know reading this and reading the minutes, it stated that there was a possibility of putting a security camera and having the recreation director monitor it. I'm troubled with that. I mean, I think this will attract a lot of kids. I think this will be a great thing for our kids. And I think, like Councilor Nicola says, it is needed. But at the same time, I think we need to have a plan in place for security, for upkeeps. I mean, I would hate to, I know it's grant money and I know we're going to put this in, but at the same time, I would hate for it to be graffitied the first month. Somebody come up and hit it with a bat. I mean, the playground equipment over there is not in good condition now. So my concern would be that we are investing all this money and we don't have a plan in place for security, for supervision. I would like to see, before I vote on this, I would like to see a complete plan from the Recreation Department on how we're going to tackle these issues. How we're going to go about, keeping the kids safe. Because I believe it's going to attract kids. We do have something similar to this at the Petrie pool that just opened, the Petrie pool, but that costs money to get in. We're doing this for free. It's going to cost us. It's going to cost the town. But again, you're going to have a lot of kids down there. You're going to have, kids running around without supervision. So I would like to see a plan in place in regards to the safety of the kids, the safety of how we're going to do this. Because if we're going to invest this money and just let it run, somebody can walk up there, hit a button, let it run, and there's no security, nobody's going up there. We don't even know if our police department's going to be going up there. These are the things that I would like to see it put in place prior to voting on something. I agree, it's needed. I like the idea. I'm a little hesitant about the cost and the future cost about it. But again, the security aspect, I don't think putting a security camera on a building, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. This recreation director, I believe, is also our airport manager. So he's got multiple hats that he's wearing. So it's not going to be monitored. So I would like to see a plan put in place in regards to, with all the parties involved, whether it be the police department, the fire department, the recreation department, to make sure that the money that we're going to invest is good money. I agree. I think it's needed. I think, it's a great attraction for our children, especially for that neighborhood. There's not much going on there. But I know several years back, that neighborhood didn't want the youth center in that neck of the woods. So is that going to be a problem? Is having kids not supervised down there going to be a problem? So I would like, have kind of a brainstorming session. Is this did we get this money already?
No, we didn't.
Is there a deadline?
Well, it's a very unusual grant application. It came in January. We had to submit in a very short period of time, very briefly. We did not, because we couldn't find a place that we thought was appropriate. They called up and said, "Why haven't you applied?" And I said, "Well, we didn't find a place that met your requirements." So they explained their requirements, and we went out and looked again. I went out with the recreation director and some others, and we found a couple of places. So they had us apply saying, well, you don't need to have council approval until after you get the money. We don't actually have any money in-house, but we have been told that we have been awarded a grant pending certain things, one of which is a grant agreement and a positive vote by the town council. So I hope I just answered your question. I realize a little longer than I thought I'd be.
Is there a time limit to put it in place?
Oh, yes, we have to have this done by the 31st of December if we're going to do it.
So we do have time to sit down with different parties and discuss this prior to, because I would like, this is a big deal.
We could do it prior to the next council meeting, but if we go through the summer on it, we wouldn't have enough time to finish it in the fall, possibly. But we have enough time to do it for the next, if that's what Madam Chairman would like us to do.
Which I understand, the little lag between the summer and the transition of council and stuff like that. I do understand that point. But again, I would hate to rush such a thing without having a clear concept of how we're going to manage this moving forward.
Sure.
Because if we don't have a clear concept, we're just going to keep building parks, investing our monies, and it's just going to go to waste. 6 months later, the equipment's broken, people can't really enjoy the investment that we've made. And I think it's a great opportunity. I'm glad we went for it. But again, I would like more of a clear picture of the long term, whether is it going to be really monitored? Are we going to be able to apply for a grant maybe during the summer? Because maybe we can apply for a grant and have somebody work it, work that park. Because I know the school department has people that work in the fields and stuff, especially at McMahon, and they pay for the upkeep. I don't know if that's something that we can apply for a grant to keep that going. I would hate to see the investment and see it go to waste.
I understand.
Thank you, ma'am.
Is that Councilor Moriarty?
Thank you. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but just briefly, I don't think that there are many that have probably argued more in favor of things to do for the kids and things than I, but this is one where I feel, while it's not something that we have to this extent, I do feel it's a little redundant to the point of we do have the state pool, which has, again, water products, water games, water activities that are not necessarily to this extent, but I think still there, and the entrance fee is really nominal to the point where it's almost foolish. So I'm not in favor of this. I think, we talked about, aside from the potential for in excess of 25,000 gallons a day of water, the estimated cost just for the water and sewer is just a few $100s short of 20,000. There's several $100s there just to winterize it. There's no estimates for the repair costs for if and when it becomes vandalized or just wears down. And for that 20,000 plus that we would be spending on an annual basis, I would rather see that money just go to the rec department to put on different programs or do things that are broader than just this, that can be done year-round or different parts of the year, other than something that, to me anyways, is a little bit redundant. I applaud the governor for pushing this. I know it's one of his pet projects, but I just don't think it's necessary. And I think, considering the financial constraints and kind of some of the costs involved with this, I'd rather see money, if we're going to do something for the youth, which we should, I would rather see that money be used something else that can be used beyond this. Thank you.
What's that? Just my 2 cents very quickly. Appreciate the grant, Mrs. Ackley, and what you've done. My first concern is that it didn't go before the rec committee for discussion for the problems that were already addressed in the concerns. Who's going to run it? What time is it going to open? What time is it going to close? Who's going to monitor it? I have a problem with the Morris Street area, and excuse me, this is just me. Last year, the year before, we've had a lot of complaints from residents that live up in the Morris Street area about adults playing basketball and vandalizing that area at Morris Street, and the graffiti and the vandalism, and there was no control, and the police department had to step in. I can't imagine what it would be like now with the adult basketball league, if you will, because they do play up there, and having that mix of younger children. I think while we should definitely support outside downtown in that small structure, the infrastructure of the town, is it good to get out in the outer areas of the town? Yes. I can't justify spending that amount of money for water to make a splash. I can't burden the taxpayers and say this possibly next year or the year after could possibly cost you, I don't even want to even say $5,000 for 60 days, and we're talking $14,000 to $20,000 for 60 days. I think that's a slap in the face, and it's not for you, Mrs.
No,
Ackley.
that's
I'm
fine.
talking about specifically the grant and the application and what they want us to do. I think it's too much of a responsibility for this community, and I think the water prices that Heather gave you are probably very accurate or close to accurate. I just can't justify that amount of money for a 60-day program, and as other counselors said, just the maintenance and the wear and tear on that little flip pad. You know, we have a swimming pool, it's a great facility, and to put something, a splash pad or whatever it's called, for kids to hit it and water squirts up, I say go to the swimming pool, because I cannot justify that amount of money for a 60-day program. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Councilor Pelican.
I guess I'm going to be in the minority here. I think that our parks, I agree with Councilor Carrasco that the Morris Street playground is in poor condition and it does need work, but this is an infrastructure upgrade to that park, and it's paid for by the state. We're under no obligation to pay to operate it even 1 day per year, let alone 60 days per year, and it wouldn't be running 24 hours a day. If it's prohibitive, we don't have to use it. We could just use it Monday, Wednesday, Friday instead of Monday through Friday. We could just do it like on Tuesday, Thursdays if it became prohibitively expensive, but I think it's silly to say no to free money from the state for an amenity that would attract families and give children on that other end of town something to do. Thank you.
I just think with the amount of time that we've spent on this, discussing this, should be before the rec committee and let them discuss it. I don't think it's up to us as a council to be dissecting and micromanaging something that should be discussed through the rec committee. That's just my own opinion. Councilor Carrasco, did you have your hand up?
I just got a question. Reading this, it says the sum of $131,000 with $600. Is that something that would, for the whole project, or is it something that we can apply to also refurbish the existing playground? Because if we don't fix the playground, and we just add this new thing, this thing is just going to be overloaded. Nobody's going to want to play in the playground. So I don't know if part of this money could be to also upgrade that equipment.
Well, we had to apply for something specific, and they wanted a new playground or a new splash pad. But you may not be aware that the Recreation Department did upgrade that entire playground last year. They have all new swings. They did that already, but, you know,
Have you gone there and seen the swings?
I was there, yes.
They're not in good condition.
I was there in April.
They're not in good condition, so it's tough. I mean,
Okay.
again, that's my concern in regards
No, I
to
don't
investing.
think that you can, they wanted you to apply for something specific. And I did that on behalf of the Recreation Department.
Thank you.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you would like them to weigh in on this. So far, they haven't done that, and I will make a specific request.
Thank you, Mrs. Ackley. Councilor Nicola, hold on. Mrs.
I just
Ackley.
quickly, you know, I'm all over the place with this. I after hearing everybody, I think that I would be more supportive after hearing a real plan from the rec committee, and at this point, I think I'm going to hold off on that. You know, unfortunately, while this is geared toward the younger kids, we all know that it's not going to just be the younger kids that converge on this. And I don't think it's unfair, judging from the condition of the playground now, I don't think it's unfair to say that, and also judging from what happens when you plunk down a $78 million school and vandalism is a daily occurrence, that it's not really out there to say that that's going to happen some more. And I don't know how you stop that, or how you penalize the people that do that, or their parents. But at this point, maybe we need to have more of a discussion with the rec committee to see how is this going to be monitored, because it's going to require a lot more than a camera, unfortunately. There are no rough neighborhoods in Southbridge. Southbridge itself is a rough neighborhood. So, we have to look at it that way, unfortunately. And I'm speaking firsthand. I mean, you work on these projects and then you see them completely trashed because you have people who just have no regard for anything. And the first time you talked about a splash pad, that went right through my head. And as much as I want the children to have something to enjoy, I have to consider the taxpayer doesn't need to be footing the bill for, more vandalized properties. So I'm going to withdraw my support at this point until more work's done on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ackley. Councilor Carrasco?
Yeah, I would like to make a motion to send this back to, the Recreation Department and develop a plan in place and then bring it back before council for approval.
I second that motion.
There's a motion and a second. Any more
Good evening, Roger Cowett, a member of the Planning Board Subcommittee. I attended this meeting. I'm the only one who opposed this thing here because I felt it was a great burden to the taxpayers of the town of Southbridge. When they make decisions like this here, the full research wasn't done. The costs of senior citizens on a fixed income, they don't know where the money is coming from to pay their bills, buy medicine, or pay their rent. Thing is, there's an extra tax burden on the senior citizens that are limited income. And I felt this splash pad, if the governor wants to give us something, give us a tax break on our taxes on fuel when we use our vehicles every day to commute to and from work instead of taxing the heck out of us all the time. And I felt this $14,000 could be put better to use for the whole community if they have to spend this money, spend it so the whole community could get advantage of it. Another thing is, they should have thought of probably having a sensor on this splash pad, so if nobody's there, it won't be automatic timer, it will be shut off automatically. If nobody's there, water will be shut off. I mean, all you have to do is a little brainstorming, think this thing out. I'm glad the council's considering to send it back to the subcommittee and think this over, because I feel The only way you can do about it is right now you'd be signing a blank check because you don't know what the unforeseen expenses in the future would be, and Southbridge doesn't need any more unforeseen expenditures other than what we have right now. And we're very limited because we're paying more and more taxes, more and more water, and more sewer. So how much more can you tax the senior citizens of this town of Southbridge around fixed incomes? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cowett. There is a motion on the floor and a second. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, could I have a roll call on that, please?
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Carrasco?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 25, vote to award CDBG contract for final engineering for the reconstruction of the southerly side of the Main Street sidewalks between the post office driveway and the Goddard Street to Fuss & O'Neill, Inc. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll have a roll call on that, please.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Carrasco?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. Agenda item number 26, Councilors Forum. Councilor Vandal, we'll start with you this evening.
Thank you. I asked a while back, a couple of meetings back, about the building on the corner, not the corner, behind Domino's Pizza on West Street. It's a metal building. It's very little metal left. It's just all holes. That building's something's got to be done. And I think the thing is to get rid of it. And then all the apartment houses in town that are derelict, nobody's living in them, and yet we keep seeing them year after year. Something's got to be done. I mean, some of these apartments been empty, these houses been empty for years, and I brought it up a couple of times before. I brought it up 2 or 3 meetings back. We got to get these, houses out because it's an eyesore to our town. We've got one on River Street, you've got one on Worcester Street. It's disgusting. That's all I have. Thank you.
I agree with you, Councilor. I know at one point, our previous town manager was working very aggressively in the demolition
You're right, he did.
of some of these buildings. So hopefully that will continue. I couldn't agree more. Councilor Manna?
Thank you. I do have a few things, so I will try to be quick, but I cannot promise anything. First of all, I got a telephone call, and I was approached by a resident. First, I was approached by a resident who lives on Clements Hill Road last Thursday, and he inquired about fixing Clements Hill Road, especially now that we have big things going on at the airport. So I did tell him I would bring that up, and I would bring that up to you also. I believe he said he contacted you also.
He called me also.
Okay, yes. So, I mean, it is a good idea to look up there, especially now that we got a new airport commission, we got the diner possibly opening, we got the new aviation school up there. Big things are happening. And also, I got a phone call, and I was speaking to this woman on Sunday, and she had a concern about Central Street and the sidewalks. She said that they're not in very good shape and wanted to know if somebody could go out there and look at them. So I told her I would bring that up also. Okay, next on my agenda. The other night, we had a nice discussion, I would say. But there was a concerning remark that somebody had stated that, and this was Wednesday night at the government forum, no good things are happening here in Southbridge. Well, I find that to be false, and I have a list because I got in contact with Sandy Ackley and a couple other people, and I'm going to go through this list. First, I want to say that I Googled businesses here in Southbridge, and I came up on the site Manta, and there are 1,231 businesses listed here in Southbridge alone. And this list was last updated June 2013, so it is only a year old. And I did ask Sandy, our economic director, if this would be an accurate number, and she did say yes. Highlighting some of the good things that are happening here or have happened here in Southbridge. Fused Fiber Optics, a company based in Southbridge, has 2 inventions that will be commercialized this year, one which will address breast cancer and another to make it easier to establish IVs in small babies. Optimum Technology and Expert Laser Services are both grown in size and opted to stay here in Southbridge, and they even bought town buildings to do so. 2 new restaurants established this year, Nana Bee's, which is located at 12 Crane Street, which I had the pleasure of going to over the weekend, and Le Metro Bistro. From what I understand, the bistro, they haven't even had their grand opening yet, and due to their businesses growing fast, and people from 2 hours away are coming in just to eat at this location. The town was invited by DHCD to do another project, such as the one at 319 Main Street. The apartments that were done at 319 Main Street were filled fast with people from out of town looking to reside in our community that was walker-friendly, close to amenities such as the library, YMCA, restaurants, and stores, etc. Stabilization has begun downtown. Some stores reporting they are doing well are Village Photo, Styles, Planners Envy, Clockwork Tattoo, Art Gallery, Zoe's Pizza, Telephone Store, and the jewelry stores, just to name a few. A new fitness center is moving into the former Trahan's. A bakery is actively pursuing a move into the former Raging Bull. A company that has developed a process to extract DNA from human cells has a lab at Tufts, but established business here in Southbridge, and when their machines are made, they will be made here in our hometown. Midstate Welded, our first industrial park tenant, has started building their new corporate headquarters at Commercial Drive. I believe the town is, we are working with industry in the area and QCC to establish an innovative technology acceleration center at the former AO campus. The center will be equipped with one-site learning stations to train workers for advanced manufacturing process that now make up the bulk of modern manufacturing. This will be a regional center, but it's going to be here in Southbridge, and the governor has already pledged $2 million to equip this. The town is waiting to hear if Fitchburg State will be joining QCC to set up new learning pathways. If this happens, it will be another regional asset. The Airport Commission is working together on great things. AeroVenture Institute, a flight training and aerospace learning center, has moved up to our airport, as we already know that. And I just read in the Worcester Telegram and Gazette that the Hotel Conference Center is under new management with Pennsylvania-based Shannon Hotels, and with this, they will be opening up more rooms to the public to use for events and such, which will bring more business to town. And I would also like to take a quote out of the Worcester Telegram and Gazette that was stated by Shannon's Hotel spokeswoman. She states that they are very excited about it, and it is a beautiful hotel and a lovely area that it's in. Also, we have Harrington Memorial Hospital that in the past few years opened up the Women's Health Care Center and a new state-of-the-art cancer center. We have the Family Health Care Center that just recently opened up on Orchard Street. It was highlighted in the Southbridge Evening News Friday. And although somewhat controversial, we are looking at Cumberland Farms making Southbridge home, and this will come with this will come installation of new streetlights and poles to match the existing ones on Main Street. The building will be brick to go along with the keeping the aspect of it historical. With this will also be the expansion of Goddard Street, install wrought iron fence, and assist with the traffic mitigation, all at the owner's expense. And these are just a few. There are plenty of stores, restaurants, gas stations, many, many great things happening here in Southbridge. Also, I had the opportunity Sunday to visit and tour the AO Museum. This is open on Thursdays or open by appointment through Dick Whitney. He was also highlighted on Charters Channel 3, Hidden History. You can find that on YouTube. If you'd like to make an appointment with Mr. Whitney to visit the museum, it's 774-230-8016 is his phone number, or you can visit the opticalheritagemuseum.org website. Also, it was said that people are complaining about high taxes. Well, I complain about high taxes too. I think that's one thing everybody's going to complain about our high taxes. So I got a hold of Mindy at the Treasurer's Collector's Office, and she gave me a spreadsheet for the accounts receivable of ended April 30th, 2014. And the unpaid receipts at that time were $4,629,140.75 in unpaid receipts. That includes personal property, real estate taxes, excise taxes, sewer, water. That amount does not include, however, payments of approximately $800,000 that were brought in on May 1st. When you deduct this, people still owe $3,829,140.75 in unpaid receipts. So, and this is without interest included. So without these receipts coming in, part of our taxes are going to go up. So it's unfortunate. And the biggest one of all is the personal property and the real estate taxes. $2,066,933.69. And even if you apply the $800,000 to that, it's still an enormous amount. I got $1,266,933.69. So it's very important that our bills are paid on time. And I can understand that people fall behind and whatnot, but to try and make an effort or reevaluate your situation or something. I also want to make note that Mindy does do everything legally that she is supposed to do to collect these taxes. And there's just one more thing, the DPW. It was said that some people would like to see the DPW gone. Well, I got in touch with Ms. Blakely, and I got a little bit of information from her in regards to the engineering department. That's what they would like to see gone. The engineering department oversees and issues all permits for the connection to the water and sewer system and all permits for any work being done in the roadways of the town. Our engineering department inspects and oversees work being done in the subdivisions. The engineering department also inspects and provides input and guidance on all highways, water, and sewer projects. To bring in private consultants to do any of this would cost us between $85 to $125 or more per hour. A very, very hefty expense on our part. And I also want to make note that I did the Reach Out and Read Day at Mrs. Danforth's class, preschool, and that was such a wonderful class, and it was my first experience doing this Reach Out and Read, and they were, like I said, a wonderful, wonderful class, and I look forward to many years of doing this, I hope. And one more thing, good luck, Bob.
Bob, thank you.
That's all. Are you all set, Counselor?
Yes.
Thank you. Counselor Peliquin.
First thing is I'd like to thank everybody who worked so hard on Southbridge Fest. My family really, really enjoyed attending Southbridge Fest this year. My kids had a great time. The second thing is, before I went out on medical leave in January, I had requested that the Liquor Licensing Board take a look at special legislation filed by the Boston City Council to remove the population-based quota system for liquor licenses. In regards to potentially us doing something similar. The current liquor license holders were in attendance at the meeting, and of course they were all in consensus that they want the quota system to remain in place. And while I respect their opinion, I don't agree with it. I think that at the very least we should look at applying for more sunset licenses so that restaurants in town like the Metro Bistro can get a liquor license if they so desire, and also it would make us more attractive to other people who are potentially interested in opening restaurants in Southbridge, because it's a lot easier to make money owning a restaurant should you be able to get a liquor license to go along with your restaurant. So I'd like that to perhaps go to General Government Subcommittee at some point in the future for us to discuss, because those changes have to come from us, not the Liquor Board. And the other thing is I'd like to address my long absence from the council. I'd like everybody to know that I take being a member of this council very seriously, and I wouldn't have been gone as long as I was if I could have gotten back sooner. I would have. I was hospitalized for 17 days in January, and it took me a long time to get better afterwards. But I'm doing a lot better now, and it feels good to be back. So thank you for everybody who called and wrote, and I got lots of flowers from people, and just thanks for everybody who reached out and supported me in the community. It really meant a lot. So thank you.
Welcome back, Counselor.
Thank you.
Counselor Nicola?
Thank you. I have a couple of things. We, this evening, in the reading of the minutes of the PPP subcommittee that was held on Thursday, May 15th, there was an agenda item that discussed the potential police department promotions. And after that discussion, we said that this would come up, and it has not yet. And we also said at that subcommittee that we wanted it to come up with this council, since so much time and talk had been devoted to this particular subject from this council, that it should be coming from this council. So I'm asking through you, through you, the acting chair, to discuss with the permanent chair and Mr. Reed how we can bring this prior to the end of the fiscal year to the council floor. That's one. Also, one of my general government subcommittees was devoted exclusively to a Casella update a few months back. And at that meeting, Mr. Faris made it clear that they would be coming back quarterly, and he mentioned June. So June's almost, we got one more meeting in June, and I would ask Mr. Reed if prior to leaving you couldn't give Mr. Faris a call and see if they intend to come for another update. I don't know if you have something to add to that at this point.
We have, we try to have monthly meetings with Casella. There is some things going on with land transfers and so forth, and had a meeting last week. Andy isn't here. Andy was there. And we did talk about that. I think, I'll remind John of that, but I think he expects to come in very, very soon. And he remembers, and we reminded him that it was going to become somewhat regular that he would come back, but it was discussed, and I think he'll be in, I think he's going to try and come in July.
Okay. Well, as long as it continues, you know, through, you know, subcommittee and however the council chooses in the future to address that, it should be, there should be regular updates on that. My third thing is something that I discussed with Councilor Marcucci a few weeks back after a vote. We talked about West Street Field and the anomaly of West Street Field being the only school field that Southbridge oversees, and what to do about that. So I would like to bring that forward, where the council turns West Street Field over to the school committee so that it is under their auspices as all of the other school fields are. They are responsible, the school department is responsible for the maintenance of all of these school fields, and it seems ridiculous that West Street Field is not included in that. So I don't know if it needs to come to me in a general government meeting, or if it can come right up here at the last meeting of the fiscal year, but I would just ask that we remind the chair to include it on the agenda for the last meeting. Other than those little pieces of business, I just want to say that I too had an opportunity to read to Mrs. Kenda's second grade class, and this was the 9th year that I've done that. I look forward to it every year. It is truly a joy. I love reading to children, and I love reading to children that are very open to it, and it was great. And what I'd like to say is thank you to her class for being so sweet and affectionate, and for your wonderful thank you cards, which I have all over my refrigerator and everybody comments on. You guys are great little artists, and it was a joy to spend time with you, and I hope you all have a wonderful summer. I also attended the graduation last Friday night. It was held at the, on Cole Avenue, addresses actually McMahon Field, and it was very well done. It was very well attended. I've never seen that many people ever in the bleachers at McMahon Field. And I just wanted to say, once again, congratulations to the graduating class of 2014. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Moriarty?
Thank you. Just real quickly, I wanted to thank Mr. Reed for his time and service here, and certainly we had an auspicious beginning with that initial vote, but since then, I'm thrilled that you had considered the job and took that. I think it comes through to a lot of people that watch the meetings and pay attention, but what I personally appreciate most is Mr. Reed is very straightforward and honest, and I appreciate that. I think that's great, and hopefully whomever the next manager or administrator or whatever title he or she may have is in that same mold and not beholden to anyone or none of that sort of thing. And so I do appreciate your time here, and I wanted to thank you. A couple councils have already kind of mentioned the Clements Hill thing. I also heard the same thing on the roads. I also was asked at the Southbridge Fest about the Dresser Park potholes. I know that DPW forwarded that to the proper authorities, but I'm not sure where that is. I don't know if we have an update. If not, if we can get one sooner than later, so the folks there can know what's going on. I was also asked, just very quickly, and I didn't get the full question, this was during the Memorial Day parade, about Casella compost, some sort of compost deal that Casella provides, and I really don't know a whole lot about that. So if that's something that we can just get some information, especially if we have Casella coming by, perhaps that's something they can educate us and the public on, and what's available, what's not. One other thing is just two quick items, I guess. One is we had Mrs. Chernisky that was here earlier tonight and was talking about the Relay for Life, and I just wanted to kind of point out, I came from a meeting there, one of the Relay meetings, their final Relay meeting before coming here tonight. And for those who don't know, the Relay for Life is this weekend. It starts Friday night, officially starts at 6 o'clock, but people will be there first thing Friday morning, and it runs all the way through till 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. People stay out overnight at McMahon, et cetera, et cetera. They've got registered, as of today anyways, 52 different teams have registered, with more than 630 individuals that have registered, which is a phenomenal number, especially considering, I would say probably at least 2/3 of those are not necessarily Southbridge folks. These are people coming in from Charlton, Sturbridge, Dudley, elsewhere, that come in to take part in this. And I think it's great that we have people who are coming in for a nice positive event like that. And of that, there are 130 plus cancer survivors who have registered. And if you're a cancer survivor, somebody who's been diagnosed, whether it just happened today or 20 years ago, you're considered a survivor, and we encourage you to come out and take part. There's a free meal for survivors and their family, the caregivers, et cetera. And then just lastly, as far as the relay goes, they've already had more than $103,000 turned in for the relay, which is $25,000 more than where they were last year going into it. So they're doing well and going ahead. But by no means should we kind of take that for granted. We should need to keep throwing money in there, because it does do wonders, miracles really. And then lastly, just sticking with that cancer theme, but a slightly different, I actually sent an email to each of the counselors and school committee members today, and I know there's some firemen in the back. They've taken part in the back, so I offer an invitation and challenge for you guys as well. But Saturday, June 28th, later this month, for the 10th year in a row, we're putting on the Aislinn-Cipro Wiffle Ball Tournament, which benefits, last year and this year it's been benefiting the Jimmy Fund, which does many of the same things the Relay for Life, American Cancer Society does. I think everybody really knows what the Jimmy Fund is, I'm sure. It's really a big deal. I know in the past, I know Councilor Manor played last year. I believe Councilor Marcucci has played. I think even Conrad played the first year in some capacity. This is the 10th anniversary that we've done this, the 10th year in a row that they've done this, and this year it's actually even being held in honor of Todd Sansucci, who's a Dudley resident but a member of the Southbridge Lions and does a lot here in town, who's going through a battle of his own. And he'll be there with his kids to do the first pitch and take part. So I just wanted to kind of extend that offer. It's something that anyone of any age and ability can take part in. Even Councilor Carrasco might be able to handle it. So it's just $55 a team, all that money going towards the Jimmy Fund. And if you want more information, aside from touching base with me, you can go online to facebook.com/Wiffle Tournament, and it should be in the newspaper at any point coming forward with regular updates. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Carrasco, what do you say about that?
If I do recall, I did play 3 years of varsity baseball. I could handle it, but unfortunately, I will not be in the area on the 28th. I actually won't be all week.
Ducking.
But you will have my donation. But I did not have an agenda today, so I do have a few things on my list. I first want to thank Ms. Rebus's class and Mrs. Forgive me if I say these names wrong, Joliker at West Street School. I participated in their career day. Honestly, it is an awesome experience being able to be part of them. And the kids ask questions about government and about our positions, and I just want to thank them for allowing me to be part of their career day. Also, I was participated for the first time in the Reach Out and Read at Eastford Road School. Sorry, I know there was 2 counselors that participated, but I had the best classroom. I had the PASS program at Eastford Road, active, full of energy. I want to thank Mrs. Doyle for that. I also want to say all those that worked, the Economic Development Committee that worked for Southbridge Fest. It was such a great day. It was great to see the community come together, unite. The weather turned out great. Again, thank you for putting it together. I would love to see something done again in the fall where we can bring our community out together. The more we do that, and I think the more we unite, it makes us a stronger community, and it was great to have it downtown. I applaud you guys for the work you did. It was a great event, and it was well attended. Also, I want to say congratulations to the class 2014 at Southbridge Middle High School. Again, being a graduate of Southbridge High, seeing those bleachers built, I have never seen those bleachers packed the way they were for graduation. It was unbelievable. It was well attended. And again, that shows to our community that we do care about our kids, and we are proud of them. So I just want to congratulate them and thank also those that came out. I want to say thank you to Mr. Reed. I know Councilor Moriarty mentioned it was kind of a struggle to get you here, but honestly, you were diligent, you were respectful, and you were honest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any request, you were right on it. Good luck in your future, wherever you go. And again, thank you for your service to our community. And I do have to end this way. There was a vote last week, and I would like to see something done in the near future in regards to scheduling things at the same time. It is impossible for us to cut ourselves in half to be in different places at once. I mean, there was a planning development meeting, there was a general government, DPW, and then there was also the planning board meeting that all was happening at the same time. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to those that I was able to be there, and I find out through an article of the Telegram Gazette that Cumberland Farms was approved. I would like to see better communication to us because we respond to the public, we respond to the questions that the public has, and I would love to see better communication and not have meetings scheduled at the same time where we can alternate and make those that are important meetings. But besides that, thank you, and that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Reed.
Well, I was just going to say really quickly, since everybody's mentioned it, I want to thank Mrs. Stella's first grade class that I read through. They're just, it's a wonderful group of kids. They're probably all in bed by now, or should be. And thank you for the wonderful present you gave me, and I'm going to take it with me when I go.
Very nice. Agenda item number 7 is discussion of next meeting date. That will be Monday, June 23rd, 2014, right here in the council chambers. Agenda item number 8, vote to enter executive session according to Chapter 38, Section 21, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the government's bargaining or litigation position, and to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Counselor Nicola?
Yes.
Counselor Peliquin?
Yes.
Counselor Vandal?
Yes.
Counselor Carrasco?
Yes.
Counselor Manna?
Yes.
Counselor Marcucci?
Yes.
Counselor Moriarty?
Yes.
7 yes.
Thank you. We will convene immediately.